Among us, facial scars are considered a deformity. The Japanese are proud of their scars, and because the wounds are poorly treated, these scars look even more deformed. We dress the same throughout the 4 seasons of the year. The Japanese change their dress 3 times a year. Natsu katabira, Aki awase, Fuyu kimono. Among us, to wear clothing made from printed fabrics would be considered foolishness and nonsense. Among the Japanese, everyone except the bonzes and old men with shaven pates wear clothing made from printed fabrics. Among us, a new look in clothing is created nearly every year. In Japan, styles are always the same, without ever changing.
Safe travels. Hello.
We use a double-edged sword. The Japanese use a cutlass that only has a single cutting edge.
Farewell.
Our swords are tested on lumber or animals. The Japanese insist upon using their swords on human corpses.
See you around. Safe travels.
We regard strolling as great recreation, as well as very healthful and calming.
Farewell.
The Japanese do not go strolling at all, and they are amazed and view our strolling as a hardship and a penance. Women, their persons and their customs. In Europe, a young woman's supreme honour and treasure is her chastity and the inviolate cloister of her purity. Women in Japan pay no mind to virginal purity, nor does a loss of virginity deprive them of honour or matrimony. Women in Europe greatly prize and do everything possible to have blonde hair. Women in Japan abhor it and do all they can to make their hair black. Women in Europe part their hair at the forehead. In Japan, they shave their foreheads and conceal the part. Women in Europe rarely add hair from other sources to their own. Women in Japan buy many wigs bought through trade with China. Women in Europe think it is unattractive for their face powder and makeup to be noticeable. Women in Japan think the more layers of white powder applied, the more genteel. Women in Europe make use of methods and concoctions to whiten their teeth. Japanese women use iron and vinegar to make their mouths and teeth black. In Europe, men walk in front and women behind. In Japan, the men walk behind and the women in front. In Europe, property is held in common by husband and wife. In Japan, each owns his or her own, and sometimes the woman lends hers to the husband at exorbitant rates of interest. Women in Europe never leave the house without their husband's permission. In Japan, the women are free to go where they please without their husband's knowledge. In Europe, while they do exist, abortions are infrequent. In Japan, this is so common that there are women who have had 20 abortions. In Europe, an infant is rarely or almost never killed after birth. In Japan, the women step on the neck and kill any children to whom they give birth that they believe they cannot feed. In Europe, women ordinarily prepare meals. In Japan, men do the cooking, and noblemen consider it something excellent to go into the kitchen to prepare food. In Europe, it is considered offensive for women to drink wine. In Japan, it is very common, and on festive occasions, the women sometimes get drunk. Concerning children and their customs. Boys in Europe wear their hair short. In Japan, they all let it grow freely up to the age of 15. In Europe, children sleep in cradles and they use little carts to teach them to walk. In Japan, they have none of these things and use only the aids that nature provides. With us, it is normal to whip and punish a child. In Japan, this is very rare, and they only reprimand them. Our children learn first to read and then to write. In Japan, they commence with writing and then learn to read. Children in Europe are reared with many kindnesses, tenderness, and good food and clothing. In Japan, they grow up half naked and essentially lack all kindness and pleasures. European parents handle affairs directly with their children. In Japan, everything is carried out using messages and a third party. In Europe, children inherit upon the death of their parents. In Japan, parents relinquish their estate early in life in order to hand over the inheritance of their children. Various and extraordinary things that do not fit neatly in the preceding chapters. We show great emotion when we lose our fortunes and our houses burn down. The Japanese, as far as outward appearances go, take all of this very lightly. Among us, it is a great offence to call someone a liar to their face. The Japanese laugh at this and consider it polite behaviour. Among us, no one kills another except those who have jurisdiction and authority to do so. In Japan, anyone can kill in his own house. We are terrified to kill a man, but think nothing of killing cows, chickens, and dogs. The Japanese are terrified to see animals killed, but killing men is commonplace. Among us, no one is killed for stealing unless they steal above a certain sum. In Japan, they are killed no matter how trifling the sum. Among us, if we kill another with just cause or in self-defense, we are spared. In Japan, he who kills another must die, and if he does not appear, another is killed in his place. Among us, people are not crucified. However, this is very common in Japan. Among us, servants are reprimanded and serfs are punished by whipping. In Japan, the reprimand
Italy has expanded its response to the coronavirus by locking down the entire country. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte says that as of this morning, travel restrictions will apply to the whole of Italy and not just the north as before. More than 9,000 are infected with the virus and more than 460 people have died across the country.
Empty restaurant chairs, a common sight now in Italy, which has extended its emergency coronavirus measures to cover the whole country. Public gatherings are banned. Only bars, restaurants and cafes that guarantee customers can remain at least 1 meter apart can open, and all must close at dusk. On the eve of the bumped-up measures taking hold, for some diners, the last evening meal out for a while. Italy's Prime Minister outlined the measures and took the nation's youth to task.
I am about to sign a decree that we can sum up with the expression, I stay at home. We understand that young people want to socialize. We have seen the images, photographs where the nightlife is, the fun, where they drink outside bars.
Delle bevande al di fuori dei locali e dei bar. Non ci possiamo.
It is no longer possible for us to allow this because of the risk of infection.
Occasioni di contagio.
The measures also restrict people to all but essential travel. Commuting for work is allowed if people have documentation proving it's necessary.
I'm forced by my company to travel for work, so I must do it every day from Monday to Friday. The queue here at the gate is a problem. It's necessary, but makes it difficult to keep our distance and respect all the measures in place.
By telling the nation's 60 million people to stay at home until at least April, Italy, the country worst hit by the coronavirus after China, is hoping it can finally turn the tide.
Farewell.
Let's go right to Rome, where correspondent Philip Willen is standing by for us. Hi, Philip. Italy's emergency measures now apply not just to the north of the country, now to the entire country. So what are things like in Rome today?
Well, I've been out briefly this morning, and it's not immediately visible that something radical has changed. There's still people walking in the streets and a certain amount of traffic. But things are definitely quieter, and they have been now actually for a number of days, because I think a lot of the population has realized that the way to stop this virus is to stop having contact with strangers. Social contact is dangerous, and people, I think, are psychologically ready to stay at home now.
Okay, but you said there are still some people on the streets. So what exactly does it mean that all of Italy is on lockdown? What can people do? What can they not do? Can they still travel to Italy or leave Italy?
It's a little bit unclear exactly how things are going to work and how you can enforce a quarantine on an entire country. The logistic challenge is enormous for the authorities. But the government has made it clear that they want to work through moral suasion. People must be convinced that this is the right thing to do, and therefore they must stay at home. Clearly, if there are very visible violations, people gathering for parties in the street and that kind of thing, the police would intervene immediately to shut them down. So it remains to be seen how things work out over coming days. But I think the message is you must cooperate with us. This is for everybody's good, and we're all in it together.
What about for tourists, Philip? Can they still get to Italy?
That's another interesting question. The government has said that anyone arriving in Italy will be questioned about the purpose of their visit, and clearly a holiday wouldn't be a valid work or health or personal reason to be coming into the country. So I think people should not be coming here for holidays, but if they need to visit relatives for serious reasons or they have important work to do, they would still be allowed in. And of course, it remains to be seen whether they'll be able to leave again afterwards. But I think the assumption is that tourists in the country at the moment who want to go back to their country of origin would be allowed to go, assuming that the country is prepared to take them in.
And Philip, what are medical professionals saying about this, a countrywide lockdown? Do they think it will alleviate pressure on the healthcare system?
Yes, I think that's the fundamental consideration here. The health system in Lombardy, which is the most advanced and well organized in the country, is on the point of being overwhelmed by the number of serious cases that they need to deal with. And I think the feeling is that if the health service in the richest, best organized part of the country can't cope, then absolutely they can't afford the virus to spread and get a hold in the center and the south, where the health service is much more primitive and where in a short time it could be in real difficulty. And clearly in the north, the hospitals on the front line are in great difficulty, and if the numbers continue to grow at the rate they've been growing up to now, there will be a very serious crisis.
All right, correspondent Philip Willen speaking to us from Rome. Thank you for that update. Germany has recorded its first deaths from the coronavirus. The 2 victims died in the western state of North Rhine-Westphalia, where around 50% of cases are located. Germany has also imposed its first mass quarantine in a small town not far from Berlin. Teachers at a local school had contact with a woman who later tested positive for the coronavirus. The Federal Health Ministry has called for all gatherings of more than 1,000 people to be canceled across Germany. The government has also agreed on an aid package for businesses.
It's not ready yet.
All right, DW's Nina Haza is covering Germany's approach towards the coronavirus, so she's with us here in studio. Hi, Nina. Hi. Italy, as we've seen, has essentially put the entire country on lockdown. And if you look at the messaging from Germany's health minister, we keep hearing, make sure you wash your hands and avoid contact where you can. I mean, is Germany not taking this seriously enough?
Well, they're saying that you always have to look at both sides and to see what measures are really necessary, and they are appealing to people's common sense. They are saying reduce your social contact as much as possible, wash your hands, adhere to basic hygiene, etc. But what they also did was issue an official recommendation to not hold those mass gatherings of more than 1,000 people, and that was definitely a change in tone by the German Health Ministry. And we've just found out, by the way, that for example, one of the top Bundesliga games will now be played behind closed doors. So for a football crazy nation like Germany, this is a massive step.
We've heard that there is a coronavirus hotspot that's been detected just outside of Berlin. How is this being handled?
Well, apparently a woman from Berlin who was tested positive for the coronavirus went to that small town of Neustadt and had contact with some 20 people there. She was later tested positive for corona, and so now some 2,250 people are in quarantine at home. People from that school, employees, teachers, pupils, but also their relatives, and the authorities say that they have to stay at home. Schools are closed until they are sure that the virus hasn't spread.
Can you give us an idea of the overall picture in Germany? How quick is the virus spreading here?
Well, the government body that is in charge of disease prevention and public health reported this morning, actually, that Germany now has a registered number of 1,139 cases in Germany, which means that the numbers have risen again. They said again this morning that here in Germany we're at the beginning of the epidemic, which also explains why the measures aren't quite as drastic as in Italy yet, because they're saying we're probably about a week behind Italy, which gives the German healthcare system
I veckans blåljus Östergötland.
Stor polisinsats efter 2 fall av grov misshandel. Stirrningslek urartade, nu är en 21-åring åtalad för mordförsök. Och så har vi fått en lektion i hur polisens spikmatta fungerar. från veckan och vi börjar med en stor polisinsats som inträffar här i Norrköping under helgen. I lördags skickades flera polispatruller och ambulanser till Stockholmsvägen i Norrköping. En person fördes allvarligt skadad till sjukhus. Han blev flyttad till Karolinska universitetssjukhuset för vård. Senare framkom att 2 personer skadats vid händelsen. Polisen jobbar med 2 fall av grov misshandel. 5 personer anhölls misstänkta för grov misshandel men samtliga har släppts på fri fot. Misstankarna mot dem kvarstår och utredningen fortsätter. I samband med händelsen upprättades även en anmälan om brott mot alkohollagen. Föreningen Angel and Friends, som enligt deras egen Facebook-sida bedriver klubbverksamhet och striptease, har koppling till misshandelsfallen. De är inte registrerade hos Skatteverket och det saknas alkoholtillstånd. Vi har utan framgång försökt nå föreningen för en kommentar. I tidigare avsnitt av Blåljus har vi berättat om polisens arbete mot svartklubbar. De säger att det är ett prioriterat område eftersom det göder den grova organiserade brottsligheten.
Har vi spikmattan i hopvikt.
Så det här är spikarna alltså?
Helt rätt.
Ja.
Sitter små skydd på så man ska klara sig från att bli stucken.
Mm. Men tar man av de här?
Nej, de trycks in om man kör över spikmattan.
Mm. Vad är den gjord då för något?
Det är plast. Spikarna är av metall. De är också ihåliga.
Mm.
Det gör att när man kör över med däcket så töms luften ur däcket på ett lugnt och beskedligt sätt. Det sker ingen explosion på något sätt utan det töms sakta ut.
Man kör inte i diket om man kör över en sån här?
Till slut kanske man hamnar om man festar men det blir inga explosioner och det blir ingen kraftig påverkan utan luften töms ut och bilen blir tyngre och tyngre.
Vi är såklart sugna på att köra över spikmattan och se vad som händer. Men varken vi eller polisen har lust att förstöra 4 däck just den här dagen. Så vi nöjer oss med att köra över övningsmattan istället, utan spikar. Sådana finns också. Men när använder man en spikmatta?
Det kan användas i en rad olika fall. Man bör ju ha gjort någon form av stoppförsök innan. Det är inte första läget man skickar ut en spikmatta för att få, utan man ska ha försökt stanna bilen. Sen krävs det faktiskt inte speciellt mycket, inget stort brott för att få ett beslut om spikmatta. Utan det räcker med att en bil inte stannar vid en trafikkontroll. Så kan man få beslut av vakthavande befäl att man får använda spikmattan.
Vi ber Mattias att visa oss hur spikmattan fungerar, hur det går till att lägga ut den. Men det här ska väl gå fort va?
Det behöver inte gå speciellt fort.
Okej, jag tänker bilen kommer ju här borta nu.
Det tog inte många sekunder att få ut den.
Okej.
Det är viktigt att den ligger korrekt.
Och att den ligger kvar där borta så man inte liksom...
Precis.
Drar den helt. Okej, men nu har bilen har passerat här. Då ska vi liksom bara...
Fortsätter man dra. Har man bråttom själv får man lämna den där och åka iväg. Eller så tar man med den, slänger in den i bilen och åker.
Om det är bråttom då så man måste kasta ut den?
Påminner lite om ett bowlingkast. Tar man den i höger hand om man har högerhänt och sen håller man kvar linan här så man inte kastar iväg hela.
Ja, just det.
Och sen går man ner och kastar den.
Snyggt!
Betydligt större risk att det blir något fel på den än när man bara drar den. Men är det bråttom och man måste ut med den så kan man kasta den.
Men det är inte så lätt att veta vilken väg den här bilen kommer att välja ju. Har ni flera mötter som ni kan lägga ut på flera vägar?
Ja, bedömer man att den kan passera på ett visst ställe så tar man ju upprättar en spikmatta där också.
Så ni har flera?
Ja, det finns i alla bilar.
Alla bilar har en egen?
Alla bilar har en egen.
Jaha, okej.
Så just av den anledningen att Polismyndigheten vill att vi ska använda oss av det här eftersom det är ett relativt säkert hjälpmedel.
Kan man lägga ut den även på, säg, E4?
Ja, E4 är ju väldigt bred. Så men visst, det är inga problem.
Hur ofta används den då?
Inte jätteofta. Vanligtvis stannar jag faktiskt bilar på uppmaning. Men någon gång ibland.
Kan du berätta om något tillfälle när den här spikmattan har varit användbar?
Till exempel när vi har trafikkontroller. Har vi en större trafikkontroll då kan vi ha en spikmatta, få med oss ett beslut från vakthavande befäl att vi har rätt att använda spikmatta om det uppstår en sån situation. Och det kan ju vara om det är någon bilist som väljer att inte stanna i trafikkontrollen och väljer att forcera den. Då kan sista man där stå och dra ut. Så det är väldigt användbart. Och då kommer den bara en bit sen är det färdigåkt.
Ni kanske minns de här bilderna. De togs i samband med ett mordförsök i Skäggetorp i augusti. En 21-årig man har nu åtalats för olaga hot och försök till mord. Alternativt grovt vapenbrott, grovt olaga hot och grovt vållande till kroppsskada.
I kvällens avsnitt ska Antonio i Västerås försöka hitta och gripa en efterlyst man.
Man har ju en rädsla för att den här mannen kan ha vapen.
Elin och Åsa åker på ett larm när några tjejer börjar slåss utanför en krog.
Jag tror att det är de där tjejerna.
Och Åsa får även ett larm om ett lägenhetsbråk som verkar allvarligt.
Att bara höra mannens röst känns lite oroväckande. Jag hade gärna hört någonting från kvinnan.
Från polisen!
Västerås, 10 mil väster om Stockholm vid Mälaren, ligger Sveriges 5:e största stad med sina 107 000 invånare. Här arbetar omkring 90 uniformerade poliser. En av dem är 29-åriga Elin som nu börjar arbetsdagen.
Att jag ville bli polis, det kom faktiskt ganska sent i mitt liv. Jag var inne på att bli gymnasielärare. Sen fick jag för mig att jag skulle söka polisutbildningen. Det bästa med polisyrket, det är att du kommer till jobbet och du vet inte vad som kommer hända. Du kan ha 10 olika ärenden på ett pass eller du kan ha ett. Det är variationen som är mest intressant, tycker jag. Vapnet är ju en naturlig del av min utrustning som jag har på mig. Naturligtvis så måste man vara med.
Bara hjälp, förhoppningsvis blir det utan att det var något jag får lacka upp.
Ja, det löser vi. Verkslut. Där är det tjejbråk på gång. 2 olika tjejgäng som har bråkat med varandra. På plats.
Tjena.
Hej.
Ja, vi har ett gäng tjejer som har slagit varandra.
Ja.
2 gäng.
Okej.
Det var tjafs med faktiskt samma gäng för 2-3 veckor sedan.
Jaha.
Så att, de skyller på varandra. En tjej har sedan fått en smäll, en som blev riven i ansiktet och i håret.
Ja.
Så vi har 2
allihopa.
och 2 är där innanför som vi håller också.
Okej. Ja, men vi får prata med dem. Så.
Ja. Vad är det som har hänt?
Skulle jag kunna få en anmälan? Ja, vad är det som har hänt? Det är någon som har boxat mig här i ögat och dragit i mitt hår så jag har ont i nacken. Jag vet inte om jag ska ringa en ambulans eller någonting. Vi är 3 stycken och de var 4.
Är du kompisar med
Kolla
de här
mitt
tjejerna?
armband. Ja, jag är kompis med dem. Alltså, kolla mitt hår. Kolla. De har dragit sönder.
Men har det varit tjafs tidigare också?
Det har varit tjafs tidigare.
Ja.
Förra veckan...
Kände ni de här tjejerna?
Juldagen var det vi var sist vi var ute. De kastade en av tjejerna glasflaskor mot oss.
Men är det några ni känner igen där?
Jag känner inte igen dem som tidigare.
När det är mycket tjejbråk så blir man ganska frustrerad. Det handlar väldigt mycket om det dras i hår och det är små tjafs mellan tjejer då som inte verkar kunna prata med varandra. En tjej sparkar dig i magen. Sparkar hon dig?
Jag vet inte. Alltså jag kände...
Du fick en puff i magen eller? Ja.
Ser du att det... i alla fall. Kände jag.
Har du ont i ögat där när du pratar?
Jag har ont i ögat så jag har ont i nacken mest.
Då är det, alltså det mitt förslag är, har du ont någonstans så är det bättre att åka upp till sjukhus.
Ja, det är hon som är här.
Varför stannar ni här tjejer? Mm. Jag tror att det är de där tjejerna som står där borta. Som går och snackar med dem så.
Där gör ni. Ni går iväg innan jag var färdig att prata med er. Nej, men ni har varit med i samband med det här. Det är samma gäng.
Men varför fan inte det här?
Kom igen nu. Ta fram lite legitimation så är det här ur världen.
Mitt liv, din jävla idiot! Har jag sett dig? Har jag sett dig? Ja, jag är motstånd!
När vi står där så kommer en annan tjej ut med en ordningsvakt. Och det blir höga röster och hon står och skriker på en annan tjej. Vilket innebär att det blir tumult även där.
Ta det lugnt, vi står emellan er, eller hur? Ta tag i mig, jag gör ingen motstånd. Spraya mina ögon, jag gör ingen motstånd.
Om du inte vill följa med oss in ikväll så får du gå hem nu. Då är det det som gäller.
Ja,
och då vill jag att du går härifrån nu, direkt.
Men varför?
Hör du vad jag säger? Nej, jag tänker inte diskutera med dig för du har betett dig dåligt. Jag vill att du går härifrån.
Har du sett mig bete mig dåligt?
Ja, jag såg det alldeles nyss när du betedde dig. Den här tjejen, hon blir bara mer och mer aggressiv. Vi försöker lugna ner henne så vi tar henne åt sidan och försöker prata med henne, men det går inte. Hon är en fara för de andra personerna som befinner sig i närheten. Du kommer få sova hos oss.
Har du något vass på dig? Jag ser inte hur du ser ut eller? Va?
Den kommer följa med in.
Va? Har du något vass
på dig?
Nej, jag har jävligt vass på mig. I min fitta har jag vass. Ja, men vad trevligt.
För dig. Jag vet inte vad mer. Hon beter sig jävligt illa i alla fall.
Jag bryr mig inte! Jag hatar polisen! Vi får dra till helvete! Hur mycket är det?
Vissa människor klarar inte av att dricka alkohol, vilket gör att man kommer i luven med sina vänner och folk man inte känner. Man blir frustrerad, det är bara så onödiga situationer det här. Mycket tid som läggs på den här typen av bråk. Fan vilka jävla... Det är ju så typ 3:e tjejfighten här ikväll. Det är helt galet. Fylletjafs kan vi kalla det.
Ja. Kort och gott.
Ja. Nu har vi fått in en hittegods väska så vi ska slänga in den i bilen.
Ja.
Men vi får nog hålla oss. Vi kör väl lite grann här i krokarna. Vi hoppar in i bilen och så håller vi oss lite. Ja, det är krogstängning alldeles strax så vi håller oss här i krokarna ifall det skulle bli någonting mer. Men vi hoppar väl in i bilen.
Ja, jag tror det. Det börjar se ut som en snögubbe här så att...
Ja, precis.
Jag vet inte vad som händer.
Nej. Ja, Linus. Gick det bra på invägen? Ja.
Helt bra.
Och det kan vara ganska jobbigt att befinna sig i de här krogmiljöerna faktiskt. Den här kvällen känns som att det var något konstigt för att ja, det var ju många tjejer som bråkar i samma stund i princip. Eller ja.
I veckans blåljus Östergötland.
Recently, I've found myself wondering about Skyrim's longevity in the video game scene. It's an old joke at this point, but here we are in 2018 and Skyrim is still something I see pop up into my various feeds pretty frequently. It's rather odd to me considering that every time a new and better version of Skyrim is announced, all I hear and see are memes, jokes, and general complaining about the decision to release yet another adaptation of everyone's favorite 2011 masterpiece. It's gotten to the point where I've found myself thinking about the game that was released before Skyrim. Not that one. No, almost there. That's the one. Well, close enough. Yes, Oblivion. While not my very first Elder Scrolls game, it's definitely the one that I sunk the most time into, and the one that I remember most fondly. Watching the amount of love that Skyrim gets from Bethesda, which may or may not be because of the money it brings in, got me wondering if I've been holding Oblivion on a higher pedestal due to nostalgia, or if it was really as good as I remembered it being. After all, the last time I really played Oblivion was about 8 years ago, before Skyrim's first release. So I downloaded Oblivion in its unmodded state and began to play through the game with a fresh perspective. I realize this is a 12-year-old game now, so I'm not really going to rag on its various bugs or graphics too much, but I will be basing my analysis on how much fun I have overall with the game and its quest lines, and present my evaluation based off of my own feelings and standards for how things should or shouldn't play out. I will not be including the Shivering Isles, because my script is already 12 pages long without it. Just know that the Shivering Isles are very fun and a welcome addition to the game. Let's take it from the top. You have zero idea how much this song excites me. Anyways, you start in a cell because every Elder Scrolls game needs you to be a prisoner, except Daggerfall. Emperor needs to use the secret escape tunnel that's hidden in your cell for some reason, and then realizes you're pretty cool.
You are the one from my dreams.
So you tutorial your way through the sewers and wind up making your class after watching the Emperor die before your own eyes. Even for its time, this is a pretty cookie-cutter start as far as beginnings go, but the class creation is actually where my interest in the game started to pick up again. I love this type of character creation, and I miss it in a lot of modern-day action RPGs. It's a very old-school pen-and-paper type of creation where I can make something semi-unique while still being able to train and dabble in all the other skills on the list. I will say it's not perfect in my opinion. I think not getting any XP for leveling minor skills isn't a good mechanic. But I also think that if the minor skills did give XP, then 7 major skills would be too many. The problem here is that it takes 10 increases in any major skill to level up. And I could go on about this system for a long time, so let's just move on from it. After crawling through the sewers and being bombarded with 1,000 quests, you're now free to go wherever you please.
I started with trying to work my way into the Blades. This entire part of the quest line was never memorable to me. I vaguely recalled the bit about Martin being the son of the king, but I did remember Kvatch pretty well.
They say he actually went into an Oblivion gate and destroyed it.
After all, it's where the first gate to Oblivion is located. These hell portals still do an amazing job of creeping me out in a way that I did not expect. It's really a testament to how well the concept of Oblivion gates were done in this game. When I'm expecting the gate to be there, and it still sends shivers down my spine, that's an extremely well done experience. I mean, think about it. These gates could have easily been shrines or pedestals that have no weather or sound effects. You touch them and then you just get transported into hell, and that's the experience. Instead, you're traveling around Cyrodiil and suddenly the sky goes dark and this massive red portal is looming in the middle of the woods, and you were just looking for a bear cave for your bear quest, and now you're wondering how this all went wrong. This kind of experience is something that's extraordinarily unique to Oblivion, and I very much love the emotion that the outside of these portals evoke. The inside of them is a different story. Yes, walking into your first portal is a pretty awesome experience. The contrast between the hellish wastes of Oblivion is a tremendous leap from Cyrodiil's rolling hills and flowing rivers, but the actual gameplay experience is lackluster at best. Once you get over the change in scenery, Oblivion gates become one of the most stale and boring challenges in the entire game. The randomly appearing gates come in 7 different variations, but all of them have the same flavor of giving you the runaround treatment while you try your damnedest to make it to the sigil stone and close the portal. Here's a breakdown of one of the gates that I did clear. Alright, you start with these 3 towers to choose from. One's closed off by lava, so choose one of the other 2. Both are wrong. Walk in and admire the blazing fire and body rain. Head upstairs, fighting off various roving gangs of Darth Mauls, until you make it to this bridge that makes it easier to get to the ground.
Oh.
Reload your save, go back inside, and go up more stairs until you get to the Blood Fountain. Then wait for an hour, negating the usefulness of the Blood Fountain. Go up more winding ramps until you get to the top, where you meet the toughest enemy in the entire gate, this Triceratops. You then pull this lever and ask yourself, where's the other lever? Spoiler alert, the other tower. So you make your way back down One World Trade Center and across to its twin in the hopes that the lever is for some reason at the entrance. It isn't, it's just another charging chuck and its patented ability of jumping in the air and clapping 3/4 of your health away. Continue up and come to the realization that a German engineer has laced this tower with bouncing betties, and continue to mash T in the hopes that enemies won't be nearby. Make your way all the way up this tower, pull the lever, go out the door just in time to watch the bridge retracting and wonder if you did this whole thing wrong. Tell yourself you didn't to help yourself feel better, and then hop down to the new tower, fight more demons. Finally, defeat this guy and take the dark sign from the altar. Immediately regret standing too close to the erupting volcano. This time, secure the dark matter and back a safe 10 feet away from the sunbeam. Weep gently as you realize that you need to do this 7 more times if you want to complete the Allies for Bruma quest. I realize I tend to blow things out of proportion, but I really don't know how else to stress that I spent around 40 minutes doing the same thing multiple times. I don't mind if I spend 40 minutes doing something that's unique and fun and keeps my interest. I do mind it when I get done with the quest and I look at the clock and I go, wow, I spent a lot of time on that. It sucks because on one hand I do enjoy the idea that all hell is literally breaking loose, but that joy is soured when I remember what it's like to clear one of these many, many gates. It's the patented Bethesda maneuver of quantity over quality that's later echoed in Skyrim and Fallout 4's Radiant quest systems. I'd have loved it if there were 9 Oblivion gates representative of the 9 circles of hell, or something similar to that sentiment, but the trade-off there would be the lack of gates resulting in the world feeling a lot less invaded. But let's move away from that. Let's talk about guilds. Guilds in Oblivion were my absolute favorite part of the game when I played through it before. So naturally, when I began to replay the game, it wasn't long before I strayed from the main quest line to start delving into the various guilds that I found in Cyrodiil. My first guild of choice was the Arena, which I honestly didn't have high expectations for. I remember it being a big fighting pit, and that's about it. After my initiation of being told that I was going to die about 20 different ways...
You what? You want to be a combatant? Alright, it's your funeral. When you're ready to get eviscerated, just head up the ramp to the arena.
I began to ascend the ranks, and surprisingly, I was having a blast. The daunting, almost eerie, blood-soaked hallway that leads up from the Red Room was something I hadn't appreciated before. And even though the crowds were sparse due to graphical limitations, I absolutely loved it, and I didn't realize it immediately, but I eventually remembered that the arena was usually something that I didn't mess with until I was much more geared out. Going into it with a lower level and a small arsenal made the arena a lot more challenging to tackle than I remembered it being. It got to the point where I was chugging potions and backing off a lot to try to win, but when I did win, it really felt like I had accomplished something. Plus the stats I was leveling was a nice bonus. After I had made a fair amount of progress in the arena, I moved on to the Thieves Guild. This was another guild that I had very fond memories for and was pretty excited about starting it. In order to become initiated in the guild, though, you have to bribe or persuade your way into the good graces of a beggar. This is where the persuasion minigame comes into play. I remembered the minigame existing, but I didn't remember the full extent of its frequency until I started doing Thieves Guild quests. If you want information, persuasion. If you want to convince someone to believe you, persuasion. If you want better prices for the stuff you steal, you guessed it, persuasion. The minigame isn't inherently awful, but it does get tedious when every person requires persuading. It's something that I'm happy about being removed in Skyrim. After you get initiated into the guild, your doyen tells you to steal things. That's it, and it's wonderful. You make your own kleptomaniacal missions, casing the joints that you want to hit, waiting until nightfall, and pilfering the riches of everyone in the merchant district. I had a lot of fun with this and easily made 1,000+ gold overnight. It was so easy that I was a bit let down by the special mission requirements. You see, in order to advance in the guild, you have to do missions that only unlock after you've fenced a certain amount of gold's worth of items. The first mission requires 50, the second is 100, and then the increments increase 100 at a time, excluding 900, until you get to the final mission of the Thieves Guild, which requires 1,000 gold worth of items fenced. I understand that I can continue to rob places as I deem fit, but it really takes the wind out of my sails when I blow through the entirety of the special mission requirements after hitting 2 shops in the same night. It's a minor complaint, but I feel like it was worth noting. Now, as far as the actual Thieves Guild special missions go, I did have a bit of fun with them, but not as much as I remembered having when I first played. Sure, I enjoyed planting evidence on a double-crosser in the guild and busting into the Arcane University to manipulate them into helping out, but I kept hoping for more unique endeavors to crop up. The first 2/3 of these missions consist of playing pranks on Hieronymus Lex and obtaining random items for people.
This is outrageous. The Grey Fox had a hand in this. I know it. After all these years, he's finally won.
After a while, you finally get to meet the man in charge, the Grey Fox. Now, I played this game when I was a lot younger, and I remember the Grey Fox being a cool and mysterious vigilante who I really liked as a character. But when I finally encountered him, he was a bit more underwhelming than I recalled. And if I'm going to be completely honest, the mask looks a bit ridiculous. But either way, he proceeds to give you a mission to retrieve a particular stone at a temple.
The blind monks in the catacombs guard the stone.
Okay, I'll show you, but only because you are my dear friend.
Please be discreet and don't bother the other monks.
Which leads into a sprawling underground cave. Let's take a time out here to talk about the cave systems in this game. They aren't good. They're boring. They're uninspired. They make me sigh and mash forward as fast as I can to get them over with. I understand that they're required in games like these. I don't just dislike caves. I do dislike Oblivion caves. Every cave in this game seems to me like some kind of generic copy and pasted layout of mediocrity. And the only thing that separates these caves from me are how much I'm invested in whichever quest I'm on. This guy wants me to retrieve a ruby dagger that slowly drains my life and causes my vision to go black and white because the ghost of a famous vampire is haunting him after he desecrated his grave. Point me to the cave, I'm doing this thing gladly. Some peasant wants me to save his prego daughter at the center of a cave. I'll pay you for a new daughter because I really don't want to go into that boring cave. Now, all that being said, the last missions for the Thieves Guild were a lot more thought out. First, I had to retrieve an arrow from a grotto, which housed a giant underwater boss, and led to a wizard tower. I was a bit aggravated at first when I saw the hidden entrance in a castle led to a cave system, but this one was actually quite a bit of fun to sneak around and explore. Next, I had to retrieve some boots that were in a cave, but it was a small cave, so no big deal. The Boots of Spring Hill Jack was actually one of my favorite quests so far, just because of the misdirection. You shake down an Earl who's supposed to be a descendant of Spring-Heel Jack, who then directs you to a cave that's under his house. And once you find the coffin, there's only a diary. After thumbing through this diary, you find out that the man who wrote it was a vampire who lived for decades and decades. When you finally get to the end, you find out that the Earl that you shook down is Spring-Heel Jack.
I am a vampire, a lord of blood.
That's the kind of cave narrative I can get behind. Finally, you're given your final mission to go through a catacomb system and solve some mysteries and stuff. I don't know, this mission felt really underwhelming to me. Your task was stealing an Elder Scroll, which is an awesome heist to pull off. And while the catacombs did feel a bit more unique as far as the layout went, they also felt very much the same. You're inside a dark, grayish dungeon with the same aesthetics and type of undead enemies. I actually had a lot more fun sneaking through the Imperial Palace and the library where the scroll was housed than the catacombs. I know I tend to gripe a lot about small things, but I really felt like the mission involving the security of an Elder Scroll, the thing that these games are prefaced with, should have been something really unique and inspired. I'm talking a gigantic sprawling library with moving bookshelves and automated knights that patrol. I'm talking trapped rooms that players have to skirt or figure. I know I tend to gripe a lot about small things, but I really felt
Lost Ark is a Korean-made multiplayer online isometric action role-playing hack-and-slash game that was initially revealed at the end of 2014. Since then, the hype levels for this game have been through the roof in multiple regions, especially the Western market. Lost Ark is a game that really pushes Unreal Engine 3 to its limits and blends cutscene-heavy storytelling with medium-paced action combat and a rich endgame that offers content for fans of both PvP and PvE encounters. In this video, you'll see my experience playing the Korean closed beta 3 for the first time and see my conclusion of my thoughts at the end in a pros and cons format. So the first thing we're going to do is create a character. This account already has a level 50, which is currently the max level in the closed beta version of this game, and a level 11. This isn't my account, so this is going to be my first time playing it. A friendly viewer of mine actually just let me borrow the account so I could make this video. Straight away, the first one looks like a warrior that wields a big two-handed weapon. Very cool. Seems like we've got a female here that uses fist weapons. Very nice. Some kind of gunslinger dude here, and this seems to be some kind of mystic class. Very cool little intro sequences for all of the classes. There's 2 more classes on the way, but they're locked currently. I think I'm going to go with the two-handed berserker type class. Seems like we can preview him in different armor. Oh my god, those shoulder pads. I think any orc would be proud of those shoulder pads. You can also do some emotes, it seems. The animations on these emotes are pretty good, very smooth. So this first option just seems to be a bunch of different presets. We've got quite a lot of options. All of them look quite good, honestly. So the first option here is face shape, giving me lots of different facial structures. Once again, lots of presets to choose from. I think we'll go with this one. Next, we have the option to choose different hairstyles. Once again, lots of options. You can also change the size of your character's pupil, so it takes the entire of your eye. You can also have different color eyes. You can have your eyes pretty fucking red if you want. Okay, you can just remove the iris and pupil altogether if you want to. Additionally, if you can't create something you like, you've also got 5 different eye presets down here. So there's a skin color slider in this game. You can be any color you want. Red, green, blue, black, white, orange, pink. No discrimination in this game. There's actually makeup options in this game as well. Even for a man. If you want to, you can just have pink eyebrows. And you can also have lipstick. Okay. Looking good. Every good game has to give beard options. You can have a nose ring and no beard, or you can have a big earring if you want to. Obviously gonna go with the beards. And finally, it seems as though you can also have face paint, scars, and tattoos on your face. Let's try putting a red tattoo on my character's face. Then you can change the opacity. Let's call him Twitch. Right off the bat, the game starts with a cutscene. I don't know if this is my character going into battle. I'm going to assume that I need to break out of here. The guys ordered these people to kill me for some reason. I guess I'm just gonna beat them up with my fists. Gonna assume this golden thing on the mini-map is my quest marker. Seems like a lot of these characters are really sick. They all seem to have the same hairstyle though. Seems like there's a big crowd of NPCs here. Isn't something you often see much of in an ARPG. Lots of NPCs in an area. So now we're grabbing a weapon. What weapon do we choose? Now we've got to equip it. Okay. I didn't see that weapon on the weapons rack. Is this sword not a bit overkill? I'm thinking maybe my character's trying to compensate for something. We've actually got some abilities now, so controls are Q, W, E, and R by default. And wow, the animations on some of these abilities are bloody nice. We just got a piece of chest armor and some trousers. Doesn't seem to have any visual impact on my character when I equip that yet though. Everyone seems to be wanting to attack me at the moment. I think they're jealous of my sword. Man, the combat feels super impactful. The camera's just kind of moving and panning on its own. Very nice. So now we've entered the Colosseum. Group them up and then let's knock them down. Here we go. Die dudes. Big damage. Oh, there's more incoming. Okay, what's this? Here comes the big boss. He's just going to smash the gate down, I think. Hello, beautiful. The way the game transitions from cutscene to gameplay is really smooth. Press the space bar. Oh, okay. This game has a dodge roll function. Very nice. I didn't even know that. Oh, let's dodge. Okay, I was a bit slow there. I got the reaction times of an old lady. Oh, dodge, dodge. Doing another cutscene transition. Can still control my character, though. Oh. Quite an impactful start to the game, I have to say. Okay, my character's collapsed from exhaustion. Another cutscene. Seems like we're talking to someone of great importance. Oh, we got another new sword. What does this one look like? It's absolutely huge again. It's like a giant scimitar. Wow. Oh, okay. So I just need to defend against these hordes of undead for now, it seems. Let's do a nice big charge. Oh man, they're quickly starting to mount up. That's level 4. Oh, another new ability. What does this do? Apparently I need to hold it down. Nice. Spin to win. Let's gather some enemies up and practice my spin to win. Beautiful. There we go. Cleave it all down. And that's level 6, I believe. Does this sword look any different? Maybe it's just a different colour. Yeah, it's just a different colour. I really wish I understood Korean so I knew what was going on with the story. It seems pretty interesting so far. We've actually got another new ability. Let's see what it does. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, okay. That was cool. I didn't expect that to happen. I was just randomly interacting with this boulder. My character appears to be covered in fire. I think that's because he took a buff. Well, rest in peace, Grandad. We're going to need to avenge him. I've got another new ability. You actually get 8 abilities by the time you hit level 9, which is really nice. I don't like it when games delay the amount of abilities you have too much. So when there's an obstacle in the environment, you have an interaction key, which is G, and you can jump over things. So we're gonna start off with my spin. It doesn't seem as though there's any AoE cap, from what I can tell. Dude, is that a new sword? Please tell me we get to use that sword. We get to use that sword. It feels like I'm approaching the end of the starting area. There we go, absolutely decimating everything. Seems like this weapon has a freeze effect on it, where everything I hit gets frozen for a while. This is just a small observation, but unlike other ARPGs, it seems like every item only takes up 1 slot of your inventory. Additionally, it also seems like the inventory size is quite big by default. Not sure if it's going to stay that way because obviously this game is most likely going to be free to play in Korea. The sheer amount of enemies on screen and how smooth the game currently feels really epic. Okay, wait, are we destroying the bridge? Yes. Nice. I'm pretty certain that this is the area from the reveal trailer. There we go. Cut everything up. Every demon in the world's chasing me. And we're gonna run and jump here. Now approaching the final challenge of this area, it seems. Seems to be after this crystal for some reason. Now we're gonna teach this arsehole a lesson for killing my fucking granddad. Seems like he's got multiple health bars. Yeah, he's got 10 health bars. No, no, no! This is gonna hurt. Seems like my sword's disappeared now. No idea what's going on right now. Or maybe we've ascended or something.
Up with you.
The cutscenes are incredibly well done in this game, I have to say. This is really cool. Beautiful looking area as well. Some kind of book. It seems like the game's offering me one of 3 different progression paths. Apparently this type of warrior specializes in both damage and defense. Interesting. Wait, do we get to test out the class before we pick it? Look at the size of that hammer, it's fucking huge. So let's test out some of the abilities. This is the first one. This is the second one. I like that a lot. This is the third one. Very nice. This is the fourth one. Beautiful. This is the fifth one. The sixth one. The seventh one. And the eighth one. Wow. You can summon monsters and test out the class. It's just a fantastic idea. This is basically a training area that allows you to try out all 3 specializations for your class. You can summon monsters, you can summon bosses. It seems like the game really wants you to make the right choice, not feel like you picked the wrong one. So this is the tank that has a gun, sword, shield, if that makes sense. So you hold this down and you release it at the right time, and then you kill everything. That's a really cool ability. My character's been granted the gift of the gods to use the super hammer. Kind of funny because the hammer's actually bigger than my character. Seems like we're back to the real world and we're in this lush green temple-like area. Just a bit of attention to detail when you walk through the plants also move. I think sections like this are just designed to show off how beautiful the world is. We've been riding for all of 30 seconds and we're getting ambushed. Go horse! That's a brave horse. That's an extremely brave horse. That horse doesn't give a fuck. This horse is a fucking... Horse is an army tank. Okay, now he's killed himself. Bad horse. Right, time for some killing. Dude, that ability is so cool. That gravity thing? Wow. I guess we're just supposed to sit here and chill. So it seems as though there's an ancient tablet and a big chunk of it's missing. Maybe we need to find it, and it will give us the answers that we seek. So something I just discovered is that you can actually remove the user interface just by pressing Alt-Z. I really like it when games give us this option. Not many action RPGs or isometric games actually do that for us. It's nice just to admire the environment a little bit more. Lots of people, very densely populated. The world in this game just feels alive due to the sheer amount of NPCs there are, as well as the players running around. There we go, we bought some epic shoulder pads. I can wear it in one level. Is this some kind of sacred tree? I think it is. I don't read Korean, but the game told me to press Y and this guy's dancing. So I'm going to assume this is a quest for dancing. There we go, now we're dancing together. Very good. Well, he can dance better than me, that's for sure. There's actually a lot of emotes in this game. Different dances as well. Let's try doing a bit of combat with the user interface off, shall we? There we go. Favorite ability. Sucky suck. Nice. Something I kind of wish was more apparent in this game is gore, honestly. It does feel slightly weird hitting these mobs with this giant fucking hammer that would absolutely splatter them to death. And there's like no gore, hardly any blood or anything. The game's still fun without the gore, but I think it would be better with the gore. So based on the amount of points you put into a single ability, you're going to get a further progression option on the right side. So if I put 4 points into this, it's going to give me one of 3 options to further improve this skill. And you have that 3 times in total. I can interact with the environment here. I guess we're going to slide down. It seems like for me to fill this ulti bar quicker, I need to do actual combos. So whenever I press my E ability and my C ability, my V ability then lights up, and then that gives me power. It seems as though there's a dungeon in this area which I'm looking forward to. The bush is giving us a quest apparently. The bush can also talk. Okay, game. Crossing another bridge. The game seems to like bridges. There's a lot of bridges in the world of this game. I really like how my number 2 ability and my number 7 ability line up. So you can just do that to suck them together. Then you can take them out with a concentrated blast. Inside the first dungeon we go. And I can get rewarded with a blue chest piece, it seems. There's also what I would assume to be a hard mode here as well. This seems to be some kind of bandit cave area. Got one mob in red. Let's group them up. Let's laser them down. It seems to be my best combo so far, to be honest. I'm really getting my ass kicked. I am chugging these health pots. When you look at the minimap and a mob has that icon around it, I think it means he has additional effects such as CC and stuff on his abilities. I've noticed that a lot of these mobs do tend to CC me a lot more. It's useful that dodge actually cancels the animation for your abilities. Very much needed on this class because a lot of my abilities just lock me in place. Oh, Willow! We're almost dead. Let's not choke. Is he dead? He's dead. So he's returned the missing part of this ancient tablet to where it belongs. This kind of reminds me of Harry Potter vs Voldemort, not gonna lie. Oh, we're actually gonna get a horse now. I didn't know mounts were in this game. The movement of the horse feels a little bit strange, but I guess this isn't really something that isometric games tend to have. So, nice that it's a feature, I guess. Let's try this character. So let's start off with this. And we're gonna press my 7 ability. She also seems to have a decent amount of in-combat mobility compared to the other class that I played. Doesn't seem to do as much damage though. I think this class is actually really cool. This is the longest combo ability. Now if I press the button which initiates that ability, I blink back to where I started from. Really cool indeed. I feel like this would be a really strong class in PvP. It's got a mixture of close range and long range abilities, high mobility. Seems to have pretty high burst as well. I don't know what it is, but Asians always seem to make games with the best combat systems. I don't know why. I think I'll check out this quest for a bit and then I'll play through some of the level 50 stuff. Another class I'll have to learn. We've played the warrior to level 14, we got the card thrower from 11 to 13, and now we're going to check out this level 50. I'm not sure what the class is, but we'll see how it goes. So now we're on the level 50 ranger type class that I actually have no idea how to play, and we're currently in a capital city. We're going to be checking out some of the level 50 dungeons. Currently in the closed beta, level 50 is the max level you can get to in this game. So to do a dungeon, you go to this statue, and on the left side you've got all of the choices. The dungeons that are unlocked here are dependent on your gear. So for this one you need an item level average of 255. This one's 265, 275, 290, 305, 320, 335, 350, 365, 380, 395, 420, 445, 470, and the highest one is 495. There's a lot of endgame dungeons, it seems. Let's just count them up. 15 endgame dungeons. Wow. This is basically just a level 50 version of the dungeon that I've already done several times. I should have picked the other one. So in the multiplayer dungeon, it seems like the tactic is to just pull everything, run to the end, then AoE it all down together. Certainly a lot more challenging than the other dungeons. We're just kind of speed running it seems. Since the mobs can't climb the stairs or anything, we can just run past them and go straight to the last boss. Not sure if it's really a good thing that you can do this, to be honest. We're actually killing this monster here. It seems like a bit of a boss. Some kind of giant crab monster. So my C ability, I need to hold it. I need to dodge. I think I'm dead. I think I'm dead. I think I'm dead. I think I'm dead. How am I not dead? Don't think we got any loot for that. Here we go. Oh god, we died. Seems like there's some angry Korean writing in the chat right now. So now all that's left is the boss. We're going to 3-man this because one guy died already. Kind of getting my ass kicked, to be honest. Really getting my ass kicked. He's out of energy, so we're just going to pop everything we have. Dodge. Okay, I'm on 1 hit. I'm so close to dying. Obviously just jumping in at max level to a class that I've never played before. Not going to be playing the best. I'm figuring it out quickly though. Come on dude, die! We got him. Man, that wasn't easy. We actually got rewarded with an epic chest. I'm guessing it contains loot. Anything good?
Be careful.
Any upgrades? No upgrades. Let's try this dungeon. It's got a lower gear score requirement, but I haven't actually done this one before. So this guy's got some kind of giant gun or something. Guy with the big two-handed greatsword over here. What is that? Seems to be some kind of lion costume. I saw a man's feet under there. This woman's playing guitar. Some kind of celebration here with fireworks and people floating in a bubble. Been in queue for the first dungeon for over 20 minutes at this point. Doesn't seem too likely that I'm going to find a group for it. Maybe it's a solo dungeon? Let's just check. Testing out some of the abilities on this class. Let's charge up my arrow. Pop my AoE arrow ability. Then we're going to iframe through this. That's a lot of damage. I'm going to put this down, it's going to blow them all up. I'm going to pop my Z ability. I don't really like the combat of the Ranger that much, to be honest. Everything kind of locks you into an animation. It feels a little bit clunky. Oh my god, there's an absolute army of monsters here. I think we're fucked. I think we're dead. I think we're absolutely fucked. Okay, we managed to walk through most of them. Oh, I'm dead! Let's see if we can actually kill these monsters. Oh, fuck, dude. Let's just... No, we skip it. Okay, we take the zip line. We're okay. I don't actually think I can progress any further. This guy's an actual boss, and he has 2.1 million health. The same amount of health as the boss in the group dungeon that I did. So I'm not too sure that I've got much of a hope of killing him. But at least I got to see the aesthetic of the first dungeon. It looks pretty damn nice, to be honest. So now, as always, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons, starting with the pros. There's quite a good amount of character creation options for an isometric game. The way the camera is used in Lost Ark is second to none. The way it seamlessly transitions between cutscenes and gameplay gives the game a true AAA polished feel to it. The in-combat abilities are animated to super high quality and feel extremely impactful, even though I'd say the actual pacing of the combat's a bit slower than a lot of other popular isometric hack and slash games. Even though I couldn't understand it, I think the game uses a lot of good techniques when it comes to storytelling, such as voice acting, concise dialogue, plenty of cutscenes, and camera work that focuses on important stuff. Visually, this is probably one of the most detailed and graphically intense hack and slash games there is at the moment, and really pushes Unreal Engine 3 to the absolute limits. For an Eastern game, the default user interface isn't actually too bad, not too much clutter on the screen, and you've also got the option to hide the UI entirely if you like. As a new player thinking about potentially trying Arcade Unchained, the game can look quite confusing. 220 This is because your overall class is determined by the combination of 3 different skill sets. In total, there's 11 different skill sets in the game that you can mix and match to build your overall class. You're probably super confused by what I just said as a new player, so let me just make things easier for you by giving you some strong class suggestions for a few different playstyles. For melee, 2 recommended and popular classes are Dark Runner and Executioner. Dark Runner is the combination of Battle Rage, Shadowplay and Auramancy. Executioner uses Battle Rage, Shadowplay and Occultism. Solid healer choices consist of Confessor, Cleric and Edgewalker. If you want to be a Mage, Spellsinger and Fanatic are solid choices. If you want to be a Rogue, Deathwish is pretty good. And if you want to be a Ranger, then your best choice is to play Ebonsong. Obviously you can just YOLO it and combine whatever skill sets you want, but I thought it'd be good to let you guys know what classes are popular for those of you that really don't have a clue where to start. Before you decide on a class in Arcade, you need to know that this is probably the most ping-reliant tab-targeting MMORPG you can play, as the global cooldown on abilities is very short, and the game has a combo system where some abilities have almost no global cooldown at all. This means that lower ping translates to faster attack speed and more DPS in Arcade. Now obviously this is felt in some classes more than others. I, for example, play Arcade Unchained with 180 MS ping connecting from Thailand to Europe. I simply cannot play the Archer class in this game. If you want to play Archer in Arcade, you need sub 50 MS ping. Anything higher and you should probably consider another class. In order, I'd say the best classes to play with bad ping are Tank, then Healer, then Melee DPS, then Mage, Assassin DPS, then Archer. Luckily though, if you do have bad ping, something you can do is use what's known as a ping booster, and in Arcade Unchained I'd honestly recommend using a ping booster even if you play in the same region as the server you're connecting to, because it just makes such a big difference in this game. In the past I've tried many different ping boosters. I've tried WT Fast, I've tried No Ping, Ping Zapper, and a few free ones, and honestly they've all been really inconsistent and caused me issues such as disconnects and seemingly no actual ping improvement. Recently, however, I took the 3-day free trial for exit lag, and I was so impressed by how much better it made my connection that I reached out to them to ask if they would sponsor me with an affiliate link and a referral code, so you can find that in the description below. A ping booster is not a VPN. A ping booster is routing software that optimizes the route your game connection takes when communicating with the game's server. For anyone trying to connect to any MMORPG that's of a different region they're playing in, I highly recommend giving Exit Lag a try, and they offer a 3-day free trial in which you don't need to put in any payment information to use. So give it a try, especially for Arcade. And if you can see the difference it makes, then use referral code TheLazyPeon at the checkout for a 20% discount. Okay, so you've picked a class, you've entered the game, and initially you'll go through a short tutorial before being thrown into the big world of Arcade. The first thing you want to do before actually playing the game is activate the labour system on your account. To do this, log into your account at aaunchained.tryonworlds.com, then click Store, click Arcade Unchained, scroll down and find the game pack that you purchased, then click Apply, then select the character you want to receive it on, then click Continue to Payment, and your pre-order pack will be sent to you via the in-game mail, and then labour will start regenerating on your account. You want to do this as soon as possible, as you'll need your labour to upgrade your gear during the levelling. Before we go any further, you also need to be aware that until level 30 the game has a new streamlined main quest reward system that essentially boosts you to level 30 without you needing to do any of the side quests except for 4 specific ones. The first few main quests in Arcade Unchained will reward you with a full set of cloth, plate or leather armour depending on your choosing, as well as the choice between a selection of weapons. Every class can use every set of armour and equip any weapon, so understandably a lot of new players will be confused here. Most of the time it seems as though rangers, assassins and melee DPS go for leather armour, tanks go for plate, and mage/healing classes wear cloth, although there's some builds where this isn't the case. Weapon choice in Arcade is really confusing as melee, as there doesn't seem to be one right answer. Each weapon combination has its pros and cons based on the type of armor you're attacking. To be honest, it doesn't matter that much, so I'd just say pick whatever weapons you think are cool, but mage classes obviously pick a staff, healers you want a one-handed mace and a shield. If you're in doubt about what weapons or armor to pick, then just go to Twitch TV, tune into any max level Arcade streamer and ask them for advice. Don't worry about making the wrong choice, as before level 50, you can pretty much freely change your armor type and weapons with very minimal cost or effort. I'll teach you how to do that later in the video. Leveling from 1 to 30 in Arcade takes about 1 hour or so just following the green main quests. During this process, however, there are a few side quests that you don't want to skip that will reward you with a mount, a glider, a battle pet, and a boat. So that's 4 yellow side quests that you need to keep an eye out for. Now, because each race and faction has a different starting experience, the NPCs which you'll receive these quests from are different depending on your race. To make sure you don't miss out on any of those things, I'd recommend checking out this video by Raw Logic that shows the location for each of these side quests for each race. I'll link it in the description below. As you're leveling to 30, you'll notice that the main quests will be giving you these things called story quest infusions, as well as awakening scrolls. The gear enhancement system in Arcade is very simple now, and the unidentified gear that drops from mobs in the world is useless, outdated content that you want to throw away. From level 1 to 55, you're going to be wearing and upgrading the same set of gear that you got at the very start of the game at level 1. As you upgrade this gear, the appearance changes, it gets more stats, and it has a fairly linear power gain. The first time you upgrade your gear, you'll notice that the maximum grade it can get to is Arcane, which is purple. To progress this gear further, you need to awaken it using a scroll, which will lower the grade but unlock more stats and allow it to be upgraded to Heroic. To go past Heroic, you need to awaken your gear again, and then it can go to Unique. You awaken it again, and then it can go to Celestial, and so on. During the questing process, there is no RNG related to the awakening of your gear or upgrading it. The only RNG comes in the form of the stats which your gear gets after it's been awakened, and these stats can essentially be re-rolled as many times as you like at the cost of labour and gold by resetting your gear, which we will talk about later. So upon hitting level 30, you're going to notice that the pace of the game slows down dramatically. Instead of getting 40k XP from doing a main quest, you're now only going to get 2 to 3k. Level 30 is essentially where the questing really begins. Everything prior to that is basically a tutorial. The first thing you're going to want to do at level 30 is open up the options menu, go to game info, scroll all the way down and set the bottom option to unlimited. The minimap will now display every quest in the zone. Now, instead of skipping side quests like we've been doing previously, we now want to do every single quest in the zone, or at least 90 to 95% of them, until we're able to progress to the next zone. After you've finished the first level 30 zone, Cinderstone Moor for the west and Gehennas for the east, both factions from here on out will now be leveling in the same zones. The first one being Halcyona. This is where you're most likely going to get your first taste of Arcage's open world PvP system. Oh, let's go. Come on, give me that big arc lightning, big arc lightning, big arc lightning. Come on. Oh, yes, okay. Oh my god, it's a Zerg. It's a Zerg. We run. 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 Mount. Fucking mount. Go. We're out there. So the way this works is that every zone cycles through periods of peace, tension, conflict, and war. When a zone is at peace, opposite faction members cannot kill each other. When it changes to tensions, players can kill each other, but they don't get any rewards for it. During conflict and war, players get honour and XP for killing each other. During tension and conflict status, low-level players receive a big damage reduction buff when attacked by players 10 levels or higher than them. During war, this buff no longer exists. TLDR, quest as hard as you can during peace and tension, and during conflict and war, be careful about being ganked and be prepared to take a detour or use your glider to escape. A zone transitions quicker from tension to conflict based on the amount of PvP happening in that zone. If a zone is dead, it will sit at tension for a long time. You don't lose anything other than time and a small amount of honour when dying to PvP whilst leveling, so don't be afraid to give it a try. When leveling through Halcyona, I highly recommend starting the Blue Salt Brotherhood questline, which is indicated on the map as a leaf icon. This questline will eventually give you your own farm and a lot of XP, as well as teaching you the basics of professions. Do not skip this questline, you will only end up coming back to do it later. Something else I highly recommend doing is upgrading your glider to the ultimate version as soon as possible. You can do this at level 30 once you're in your first real questing zone. To upgrade your glider, you need to get the blueprints from Mirage Isle. There's a portal for this in both Cinderstone Moor for the west and Gehennas for the east. Go to the glider designs area on the map and buy the enhanced, improved and ultimate glider designs. This will cost you a total of 30 Gilder stars, which you should already have. Do not buy the experimental glider design, you already have one and don't need it. Once you have the designs, go to a carpentry workbench, unequip your glider and use your old glider with the design to upgrade it through the various tiers. After each glider upgrade, you should equip the new glider and use it because you'll get an achievement which rewards you with a glider storage chest. Now that you have your ultimate glider, you can easily avoid ganks in the open world simply by using a mobility ability, double tapping spacebar, and flying the fuck out of there. From level 30 to 45, you're just going to spam yellow side quests and do your Blue Salt Brotherhood questline. At level 40, you can queue for an equalised 10v10 PvP battleground and spend the tokens you get for winning or losing on Adventurer's Growth Stones if you want some easy XP and a break from the mindless questing. Something else I recommend you do as early as level 30 is the Crimson Rift daily quests. Crimson Rift is an in-game event that takes place at 12 PM every day in-game time, so once every 4 hours or so real life time. On the West faction it takes place in Cinderstone Moor, and on the East it happens in Gehennas. Take the 3 daily Crimson Omens quests from the town and join a raid group either by typing +CR in Nation Chat or looking for a raid by clicking on the Community tab, Raid Recruit and applying for one of the open Crimson Rift raid groups. You basically just tag monsters in a big Zerg raid. It's a bit of a shit show, but it rewards you with essential endgame upgrade materials that are time gated, so the sooner you start doing these dailies, the better. At level 45, leveling in Arcade can speed up a bit and you no longer need to spam yellow quests. Instead, the most efficient way to level up is to pay another player 5 gold to teleport you to Aegis Island. Here you will look for a group and grind mobs together until level 55. When you get to Aegis Island, type /shout and spam healer or DPS looking for group Aegis grind, and eventually you'll be invited to a group. Something you'll want to do before you upgrade your gear at level 50 is make sure you've got the right stats on it. There's 2 ways of doing this. The way the game intends you to do it is by replacing effects during the gear upgrade process. However, there's only a limited amount of effect replacement attempts you have, and you could end up with a useless stat on your gear for your class if you have bad RNG. The way around this, and method to have unlimited reroll attempts, is to go to a blacksmith and buy Adventurer's Everstones. Do not buy normal Everstones. I made this mistake and it fucked me up. Use the Adventurer's Everstones on your gear and the gear will disappear and you'll have all of the Awakening Scrolls and Infusions back. Go to the Armor Merchant or Weapon Merchant to repurchase the base questing gear that you want and keep upgrading and using your Adventurer's Everstones on your gear until you get the stats you desire. This obviously costs a bit of gold and a lot of labour, but honestly it's worth it in the long run. Something you should never let happen in Arcade, especially during the leveling, is seeing your labour cap out at 5k. You're wasting gold and XP by having your labour cap. If you want to drain some labour fast, you can go to any scarecrow of a player-owned farm in the housing district and craft tax certificates. You'll need these later anyway, and they'll give you 17k XP per 300 labour that you spend crafting them. But that's pretty much everything I can think of in this beginner guide, guys. The next Arcade Unchained guide
Professor Grasselli, what is the situation in Lombardy today?
Well, the situation is critical because we have a huge number of patients currently being treated in the ICU and in our hospitals. I know the situation of the ICUs very well since I am coordinating the network of COVID-19 ICUs. We now have around 600 patients being treated in the ICU in about 50-55 dedicated ICUs, and we have treated a total of more than 700 patients from the beginning of the epidemics. So if you think that in Lombardy the total number of ICU beds was about 800, 850, something like that before the crisis, you can understand that it's an incredible stress for the system.
What is the age range that you are dealing with?
The median age of the patients admitted to the ICU is 65 years. This means that half of the patients are older than 65 and half are younger than 65. In the last 7 days, we are seeing an increase in young people. So, for example, we had a patient, a 20-year-old boy, who was intubated 2 days ago.
What about children?
So, children, we have 3 or 4 neonates, I think, who tested positive and who have not so severe disease. And children, as in China, are basically spared, at least from the symptoms. I'm not sure that they are not infected, but apparently they don't get sick.
Now given how incredibly pressured you are, do you have to, in a sense, choose between different patients as to who you can treat? In other words, do you, in the end, have to say, look, I'm sorry, if you're over 80, we really can't do anything?
No. What we are doing, what we do exactly every day in our life, as intensivists. So independent from the coronavirus outbreak, when an intensivist is called to evaluate a critical patient, he always has to make a decision about is this patient going to benefit from intensive care? And this is a complex decision that takes into account several factors, not only age, of course, but also, I would say, biological age. So comorbidities, other illnesses, past illnesses, current condition, health status, frailty, and so on. So this is something that we do every day, okay? Clearly, in this situation of incredible mismatch between the resources we have and the number of patients who we should allocate, we have to be more strict in this. I would not call it selection, I would say triage of the patients, but what is driving us always is the consideration that what we have to do is trying to grant to every patient who can benefit from ICU an ICU bed. And clearly not all the patients will benefit from an ICU bed, because if a patient with, I don't know, very old or with a lot of past illnesses or with a very fragile condition at the beginning gets a bad pneumonia and needs a tube and a mechanical ventilator, his chances of surviving and of returning to an acceptable quality of life are very low.
Right.
And this is the consideration that we do every day.
Yeah.
Clearly now it's more urgent because we have a huge amount of people in a very limited period of time. But at least now we have been able to grant ICU admission and intensive treatments to every patient who has been judged candidate to those treatments.
We have 377 patients and 6 dead. Now, do you see what we are doing as adequate, or do you look across and say, you should be doing what we're doing?
I don't think that we can compare the numbers, because as we've seen also in China, in the Wuhan region, they had a huge number of patients and a higher mortality than in the other regions outside Wuhan, where they had smaller epidemic episodes. So I think that what happened in Lombardy is just like a bomb that exploded. So it's the region has a very high density of population. All those people come and go from Milan every day. They are connected to every part of Europe, and so that's where the epidemic started. And then I think that at least for now, surrounding countries are seeing how can I call them, metastases of this, but not the center of the disease. That's even in the surrounding regions in Italy. The number of patients and the number of critical patients are smaller than in Lombardy. And in Lombardy, we have, I'm sure you know, Lombardy is one of the richest region in Europe. So we have a very good health system, very modern, very efficient. So I don't think that the problem is that it exploded there, and before you can realize what's happening, you are like overwhelmed by the mass of patients. So hopefully in other countries it's not behaving like this. But what is very, very, very important for every country, and that's why the real reason why I'm doing this, is that everyone must understand that if you are not very careful in controlling the spread of the disease, this disease will overwhelm your system, no matter how efficient, good, modern it is. So the most important thing, besides creating new ICU beds, besides buying new ventilators, which is okay for people who are already sick, but the most important thing is to avoid a lot of people becoming sick. So you have to teach the population that they have to behave in some way in order to avoid the spread of the disease. I don't know, we are now putting in place a lot of severe measurements of containment, and that's the only way that we can try to deal with this incredible number of patients who are coming to our hospitals. And then the regional differences are difficult to explain. I don't know, I'm not an epidemiologist. I observe the numbers and the facts, and I see that in other countries they have smaller numbers, lower mortality. I have no explanation for that. We in Italy, the average age is very is quite high. So most of the people who died are patients above 80 years old. So patients who really cannot reasonably survive to a severe acute respiratory failure like this.
Actually, your explanation to us of the bomb that was in Lombardy, the ingredients were such that you got hit very, very badly, and those ingredients don't exactly exist necessarily anywhere else.
That's one explanation, and also, I mean, the bomb it's worse than a bomb, because a bomb is one event limited in time and in space. This is an event that keeps increasing, and it's contagious. So everything happens very quickly. If one had told me that in 2 weeks we would have created 500 new ICU beds or completely reorganized our hospital system, I would have said, okay, you are crazy. And it's happening now.
One more question, Professor Grasselli. Are your own doctors and nurses being infected?
We had a certain number of healthcare workers infected at the beginning, when everything was starting to happen. So now I think that they are using properly the personal protective equipment, and at least among anesthesiologists, the number of infected doctors is decreasing. But again, that's another big problem, because a certain number of healthcare workers are affected in those diseases, like SARS or those coronavirus diseases. So another important message for the population is that, and for the other healthcare system who are going to face this, is to train your healthcare workers on the use of on the proper use of PPE, because that's one of the most important things.
At this point in the development of this pandemic, is it possible, do you think, for Britain to suffer a bomb, as you put it? In other words, a sudden explosion of a real intensity of this outbreak?
Possible, it's possible. I think that you have the advantage of being late compared to us, so you're now realizing that this can happen, and it can happen in a rich and modern and well-organized region. Okay, so and I think that everyone, I'm being contacted by several people and from all over the world who are asking us, what are you doing? How did you do it? And and this is a great advantage for you. So I hope that in other countries this is not going to happen, because they know that it can happen, and they have to get ready, to be prepared.
Professor Grasselli, thank you very, very much for talking to us, and good luck, and our thoughts are with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Charge! To battle! Charge! To battle! Charge! To battle!
why an emergency-fed rate cut just isn't good enough to save the global economy from the impact of the fast-spreading coronavirus. As the World Bank offers billions to developing nations to support healthcare systems, we're inside a lab that's working to find a vaccine to fight the virus. And oil companies in the Republic of Congo have discovered vast oil reserves, but drilling could be environmentally damaging. The world's factory has been shuttered, supply chains have been broken, flights have been grounded, tourism decimated. That's the real-world consequence of the coronavirus. And the epidemic has yet to peak outside China. Growth could halve this year, warned the OECD, to 1.5% from its previous forecast of 2.9%. Growth below 2.5% indicates a global recession. As markets crashed, central banks stepped forward to say that they were ready to support growth. The Federal Reserve cut rates by 0.5 percentage point, its first emergency cut since the financial crisis in 2008. Now, whether central banks have the firepower after more than 700 rate cuts and trillions in bond buying after the financial crisis is another question. And after all that, it was the stock markets that benefited most from the rate cuts. Little trickled down into the real economy. And unlike the 2008 crisis, where banks needed a desperate infusion of cash after they lost a bet on subprime mortgages, this time they need governments to step forward to stimulate the economy. Case in point, governments may need to find money to bail out airlines. The industry stands to lose $113 billion in revenue. European regional airline Flybe, already in financial trouble, went into administration after bookings collapsed due to the virus. The IMF and World Bank say that they're ready to help poor countries where health systems are weakest, including providing emergency funding. The World Bank has pledged $12 billion, and the IMF has set aside $50 billion. So we had that grim warning from the OECD that growth could shrink this quarter for the first time since 2008. Ratings agency Standard & Poor's believes $211 billion could be knocked off Asia-Pacific economies. And we've had grim economic data. China's factory activity slumped to a record low last month. Now, this is a supply-side shock. What exactly do we mean by that? Well, previous recessions have come about because consumers have stopped spending. This coming recession, though, is more like the oil shock of the early 1970s, when Middle East states cut off crude supplies, which means that companies don't have the labor or supplies to make goods. Just to illustrate that further, Al Jazeera's Jessica Washington reports now from Indonesia.
On the outskirts of Jakarta, this $6 billion project is one of China's so-called Belt and Road investments. Construction is on hold for now, pending a safety assessment, but the project is facing more serious concerns. The team is depleted. Workers who went back to China for the Lunar New Year can't return because of a ban on Chinese travellers. The Minister for Investment also says the supply of raw materials from China is disrupted.
The fast train service is supposed to start from early next year, but the coronavirus outbreak could put the brakes on the project and slow down construction. This is just one example of how the outbreak is derailing investment and disrupting supply chains, and countries all over the world are dealing with the fallout.
When SARS happened in 2003, the Chinese economy was only 9% of the global economy. Now it's 19%. And China's capital is very much needed and used globally.
Countries are feeling the strain in different ways. In Australia, international education is the country's third biggest export, but a travel ban has left thousands of Chinese students unable to return to university. It could cost the sector millions if they cancel enrollments. Thailand has lowered its growth outlook for the year as its economy suffers from the absence of Chinese tour groups. Italy's already sluggish economy will take a further hit, with a number of towns and manufacturing hubs in lockdown. And trillions of dollars has been wiped from US equities, pushing stock markets around the world into the red.
What we're also seeing is a disruption to supply chains. As companies have slowed down manufacturing in China, that has impacted other Asian and Pacific countries who've relied on those inputs into their manufacturing processes. No longer are we standalone countries. We operate in global supply chains, and that's what the coronavirus has really exposed.
Governments are looking for ways to ease the economic burden, Hong Kong announcing a stimulus package, a cash handout of around $1,200 to every adult. Indonesia's government, meanwhile, will provide massive discounts on hotels and flights for foreign and domestic travellers. Economists say measures like these are expensive but necessary.
This is the challenge that governments have. Consumers are scared. I suppose governments only have a few levers to pull in this case. One is providing confidence in their health system, and then the second is giving some stimulation to their spending by either discounting elements or lowering the cost of debt.
These are short-term band-aid solutions. Ultimately, there's only one way to improve the health of the world's economies: finding a cure to the virus.
Well, let's pull all of this together with our panel of experts. Joining us now from London, Bilal Hafiz, CEO of Macro Hive, and from Singapore, Rajiv Biswas. Via Skype, Rajiv is the Executive Director and Asia Pacific Chief Economist at IHS Markit. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Bilal, let's start with you first. Are we heading for a global recession?
Well, I think the chances are very high that we are indeed heading for a global recession. At the very least, we could enter what's called a technical recession, where we have 2 quarters of negative growth. Whether we enter a deeper recession, where you see sharper increases in unemployment, is still harder to tell. But at the very least, there's a very high probability that we do indeed enter a technical recession.
Rajiv, would you agree with that? What sort of recession are we talking about here? Supply side recession?
Well, our base case is that world growth will be slowing down, but we still have growth in our base case of around 2% for the world economy. But clearly the first quarter will be a very big negative impact on China as well as many other Asia-Pacific economies. Whether we can then progress to the situation of a scenario of global recession really will depend on how much this epidemic spreads globally. Clearly now we have very substantial escalation in South Korea, Iran, and also Italy. So it's certainly a growing risk that we could see this escalating into a pandemic that affects the whole world economy, and that could destroy global consumption. And in that kind of scenarios, there is certainly a risk that it could evolve into a global recession. But at the moment, our view is still that world growth in the order of 2% is what we're going to have this year.
Bilal, do central banks have the firepower, the wherewithal to at least cushion any sort of recession? Interest rates are already about as low as they can go, aren't they?
That is indeed true. I mean, obviously, we've seen this past week, there's been coordinated central bank action from numerous central banks, notably the Fed. They cut rates by 50 basis points. Markets have responded, on balance, fairly favorably to that. So at the margin, it does seem like those actions are cushioning the blow somewhat. But as you rightly point out, there are a number of countries from Japan to the Eurozone, and indeed even the UK, where rates are very, very low already. So there's a limit to how much further they can indeed cut rates. But there's also something more fundamental, which is that this is actually a health issue, where people obviously are catching the virus, it's spreading, there's an infection, there's a pandemic or possibility of a pandemic. And so there's only so much a central bank can actually do to mitigate that. What's needed more is a health response and mitigation policy to soften the spread of the virus and also to limit casualties from it.
Rajiv, what do you make of the Fed's emergency rating cut?
Well, clearly they were trying to take action to be a bit preemptive on expectations that the spreading epidemic would affect the US economy. And certainly our surveys of US manufacturing and also services for the month of February do indicate that already US companies are starting to feel the impact of weaker demand coming out of Asia in particular. Of course, China is an important market for revenues for many US multinationals. So I think part of that, plus what we've seen in financial markets with a lot of selling in recent weeks, have all kind of come together to get the Fed to be more preemptive in their action. And I think that's why they moved between their scheduled meetings. And I think that also, of course, spooked markets, that markets became worried that the Fed's seeing a big shock coming out for the US economy. And that actually perhaps was a little bit of a counterproductive action. But we would expect the Fed to move more, and we would also expect many other central banks to also take further action. We've seen a lot of Asian central banks and the Australian central bank already moving, and there'll be a lot more easing, certainly in Asian countries, which are at the forefront of a lot of the economic damage up to now. And there will be a lot of financial stresses on companies that are in the forefront of all of this, particularly in China, now in South Korea. Small to medium enterprises are going to face a lot of financial stresses in the coming weeks ahead. So central bank action is one of the important tools to try to pump more liquidity into the financial system, and also to the extent that's possible, to lower borrowing costs for these companies.
Bilal, President Trump made it quite clear he thought that the Fed's 0.5% rate cut wasn't enough and that they should be doing more. But what more does he mean?
Well, I think President Trump has a big focus on the performance of the S&P 500 and stocks in general. He often tweets about the level of the stock market. And so I think that what Trump wants is the Fed to do whatever it takes to ensure that the S&P 500 remains at high levels. So after the cuts by the Fed earlier this week, the initial response of stocks were to fall, and President Trump then responded to say they should do more. As it happens, a few days later, stocks have actually rebounded much more strongly. And so my sense is that President Trump's view is for them to cut rates whenever there is a large correction.
Rajiv, ultra-loose monetary policies since the 2008 financial crisis boosted asset and stock prices, as we were just saying. That's failed, though, to generate substantial rebounds in economic growth. Is it fair to say that rate cuts will be less effective to combat any economic pain caused by a health emergency?
I think in general terms that's true, because the nature of the shock is quite different to a traditional economic downturn, because what we're seeing here is panic amongst households. They don't want to go out in countries like China and South Korea. What we're seeing is people want to stay at home, only order online, and therefore they're not going to do a lot of the normal shopping and purchases that they would do, such as buying cars, buying durable goods like electronic items. They'll just buy household essentials and try to order it online. So that very much results in a contraction in consumer spending. And I think that is the big difference where government action, whatever they do on monetary stimulus or fiscal stimulus, it's hard to force the consumer to spend in this kind of situation. And I think that is the fundamental difference, and why easing monetary policy has significant limitations in this situation.
Bilal, let's talk about some countries, some specific countries here. You mentioned Italy, which of course has been one of the hardest countries hit by the coronavirus. It says it plans to spend 3.6 billion euros in stimulating the economy. That sounds a lot, but given the size of the economy, it's not really. Italy's economy had contracted in the last quarter. What more should the government be doing? Is Italy headed for recession?
Well, first of all, I think that there's a very high chance that Italy is currently in a recession. It had negative growth in Q4 last year. This current quarter should see negative growth once again. And there's a good chance that Q2, the next quarter, should also see negative growth as well. And in terms of what the government can do, one is there should be a fiscal response. And we are starting to see that. There are some constraints for Italy. Of course, its overall debt levels are high, and so the European Union may be a bit more cautious around them expanding the fiscal balance too much. But the important thing on the fiscal side is that it has to be the right type of fiscal support. So the issue here is that there will be numerous companies that will lose revenue in the coming few months and quarters, and so they'll need support from the fiscal side or from the central bank. Also, there may be people who will be off from work as they're ill, and they may not necessarily get paid for prolonged periods of absence from work, so there needs to be support on that side as well. So the type of fiscal policy that is needed, it's not just about the size of the fiscal policy, it's also the type of fiscal policy that has to be specifically addressed to a health crisis.
And Rajiv, let's come back to Asia. South Korea putting, what, $10 billion in, 700 million plus in Indonesia. Singapore and Japan, though, are they headed towards recession?
I think Japan, which is the second largest economy in the Asia Pacific and one of the world's largest economies, is definitely facing the risk of entering recession in the first quarter. The fourth quarter of 2019 was already quite contractionary because of the impact of the consumption tax hike. And now in the first quarter, you not only have that negative impact still on the consumer from the consumption tax, but also you now have this negative shock from China's economic slowdown, weaker orders for Japanese manufacturing. So I think there is a real risk that Japan will enter technical recession in the first quarter of this year. And also for Singapore, I think for the 2020 year, there is a growing risk of recession. The impact of the Chinese epidemic back in beginning of February was very, very dramatic in Singapore because Chinese tourism is so important for the for Singapore's tourism industry. So that took a major blow immediately when the Singapore government decided that visitors from China would be temporarily barred from entering. So that meant Chinese tourism collapsed overnight. And so I think that has escalated the risk that when you look at the full year, it could be a year of recession for Singapore. And the government itself has acknowledged that that's a risk.
And back in Europe, Bilal, is Germany ready to provide any form of stimulus? It hasn't in the past, despite international calls and voices at home growing for it to do so. I mean, after all, German industry is in recession at the moment.
Yes, indeed. I mean, there's been an ongoing debate in Germany, within Germany and outside of Germany, that Germany should do something on the fiscal side. And I think this is the occasion where they will end up doing something. There are some challenges. There are certain rules they have within the constitution, within parliament, that restricts how much fiscal stimulus they can do. However, there are caveats to that. In certain kind of emergency situations, they can engage in fiscal stimulus. And there is indeed significant commentary amongst ministers within Germany in recent days for them to enact some kind of fiscal stimulus. So my sense is that they will instigate some kind of fiscal stimulus, especially when the number of cases in Germany starts to increase, and it has indeed been increasing of late. Germany in particular, not only does it suffer from the slowdown in China, it also suffers if the rest of Europe is slowing down, including Italy. So in many ways, Germany is at the forefront, or is at crossroads of all the negative forces that are coming out from this health crisis. And so I think in the end there will be some fiscal stimulus. However, the response will be slower than most of the countries around the world, mainly because of the general reluctance for the Germans to run fiscal deficits.
Gentlemen, Bilal Hafeez, Rajiv Biswas, many thanks indeed for helping us draw all of that together. Really good to talk to you. Thanks for being with us on Counting the Cost.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Now, the United States has pledged $3 billion in emergency funding to develop a vaccine for COVID-19. Government agencies, universities, and around a dozen private companies are involved in the race to find a vaccine. Al Jazeera's Heidi Jo Castro has visited a lab in Maryland where researchers say they're making some progress.
The potential answer to stopping the coronavirus may be swishing around inside these trays. Researchers at the U.S. vaccine company Novavax say they have made a protein that stops the virus from binding to human cells.
We are working countless hours, and I think we have made a significant progress in last couple of years.
Scientists Scientists here received the coronavirus gene sequence on January 10th. They say within weeks, they've cloned a non-infectious element of the virus, using ovary cells from a North American caterpillar as a protein factory.
So now we have insect ovary cells making the spike protein, which we then purify, and that becomes the vaccine.
The Novavax procedure has worked to make vaccines for the flu, Ebola, and MERS. For the coronavirus, it appears to be effective as well. Clinical tests are expected to begin this spring. Though full licensing takes years, vulnerable communities could receive the experimental vaccine on a compassionate use basis much sooner.
The incentive is to save and help people as quickly and as soon as possible.
In the race to contain the coronavirus, a win for the first to cross the finish line with a vaccine or a treatment is a win for all. And so government researchers here at the National Institutes of Health are partnering with private labs to quicken the pace of drug development. Moderna is another U.S. biofirm making progress. Its coronavirus vaccine is already in the NIH's hands and preparing for clinical trials in April.
I think that's commendable. If we have to come up with 1 billion doses, you might actually need, several vaccines that are working.
The coronavirus has killed thousands and is heading toward a pandemic. U.S. health officials say this is the fastest science has ever moved to develop a vaccine, but it could still be more than a year before any is massively deployed.
Now, oil companies in the Democratic Republic of Congo have discovered vast oil reserves, but they're below 10,000-year-old peatlands and next to the Congo rainforest. Environmentalists say that drilling for the oil would release tons of carbon that's stored in the peat. Al Jazeera's Malcolm Webb reports now from the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital, Brazzaville.
Beneath this swampy forest lies carbon equivalent to about 20 years of emissions from fossil fuels in the US. It's stored in peatlands that scientists discovered here in the Republic of Congo 3 years ago. The government didn't allow us to go there and film. This is the government's video, but it did allow oil companies to drill there last year. It's licensed oil exploration in blocks of land across more than half of the peatlands, and environmentalists say if oil's extracted, it risks releasing 30 billion tons of carbon stored in the peat.
It will be catastrophic. Even if we try to exploit the oil in an eco-friendly way, we still have to destroy the ecosystem to build roads to transport the oil. It will make this area more accessible for the exploitation of other resources and also endanger its layer wildlife.
The River Congo is the world's second largest river by volume, and the rainforest that sits in its basin is the world's second largest after the Amazon, and its leaves and branches falling from the trees, partially decomposing in the ground that have formed the peatlands over about 10,000 years. They've been discovered on both sides of the river in swampy areas, and the carbon stored in them beneath the ground is as much as is stored above the ground in the entire forest. The Congolese government signed an agreement to receive $65 million of funding from European governments to preserve the peatlands and the forests above them.
With Classic World of Warcraft less than 1 year away, it's time to consider reasons to pick a server. I'm going to break down 10 reasons why to avoid picking a server with a big streamer on it. The first reason to avoid playing with these streamers is going to be competition. If you think you can compete with these guys, you're lying to yourself.
That's because I'm so fucking good at this game, dude. Actually a literal god at the game. So it's like, that's true. Like, nobody should even play my server. Like, you guys know, like, the day, listen, this is true. The day that I got the rank 1 world parse on Star Augur Mythic, the site for Warcraft logs went down. Like, I wasn't able to access it. I don't think anybody was. I'm serious, it went down. And I think the reason for that is people saw that parse, because I was like one of the first people to hit 1 million DPS on a fight. And nobody else wanted to do the fight anymore, they just quit. Everybody just, they canceled their raid. They're like, there's no point going in there anymore. I mean, Asmongold already shut it down. It's done.
guys are going to have 40 people running around with them all the time, whether they want it or not. They're going to do PvP.
Yeah, you're right about that.
There's going to be an army behind them. I'm talking 30, 40, 50 guys running all over. You don't have a chance to fight them. You want to get a Scarab Lord? Good luck. This guy's going to have all of his followers helping him farm. You can't find that many people to help. He's guaranteed it. Just, if you care about competition, avoid them. The next reason is going to be server stability. What do I mean by server stability? I mean that your server is going to have so many people in one spot, it's going to lag. It happens all the time. They don't intend it, but it happens. And what follows lag? The server could crash. The server's going to crash. It's really annoying. You have to wait to play.
He's
and then what also happens, these guys want to have an event. They want to have all their fans come and join them. Then your server has a queue time. All of these things add up to very annoying things happening when you're just trying to play the game. Population. Your server's population is directly going to be tied to these guys. If they ever quit the game, you're going to watch a lot of players leaving your server.
Fucking dies.
That's just going to happen.
Imagine that, dude. Imagine like Shroud start playing on a server. Or no, Ninja. Ninja starts playing on a server. And like every single person that plays Fortnite is like, oh my god, what's this new game? I want to play on it. Ninja quits, the server fucking dies. Like that's actually crazy, dude, to think about that could happen. And like, yeah, didn't that kind of happen with Darkspear and Swifty? Or am I wrong about that? Because I think that it did. Twitch Prime, yeah, we love Fortnite. Kind of. Yeah, that's insane, man. Darkspear's dead as fuck. Yeah, so we already have an example of like literally one person. They just infect the entire thing. Like, I don't know, to me that's just fucking insane. Like I'm actually kind of impressed by that. Ninja stream Final Fantasy MMO and at 10k viewers? That's a lot. I mean, especially for like a Final Fantasy MMO, that's crazy.
The other thing that they're going to do is they're going to probably cause a faction imbalance because people are more likely to join their side because they want to play with them. On the other hand, you will get some people join the other faction who want to gank them, but I would think a lot more people would like to join them. Now, this next reason applies more to every streamer than just big streamers, but having streamers in your guild, you really have to lock this down. You have to make sure that they are watching their stream all the time. Because if they leak guild drama and guild secrets, it sucks.
Hell yeah!
You want to keep those things in the guild.
There's this one time, this was back in Hellfire Citadel, we were having a guild meeting about one of the guild members that was there was a piece of shit, and I was just roasting this dude and just like talking the most mad amount of shit about him. And then we find out that our healing officer, her stream was on, and he was watching her stream, and he heard everything that I said about him, and he quit the fucking game. It was kind of embarrassing, like to me, honestly, it was kind of embarrassing that it didn't happen. That was like what, back in fucking July, 3 years ago or something.
It would be like if you went on Facebook and posted that your 14-year-old sister is pregnant. You don't do that. Those are secrets for your family. You keep it in the family. You keep it in the family.
Hey, keep it in the family.
Trade chat becomes Twitch chat. By that, I mean the server's going to become about them and not about the game. So
that's what I'm going to do. Like, so basically, I'm gonna get a server, and we're going to get enough people on the server, and we're going to petition Blizzard to rename the server to Asmongold. How about that? Like, instead of like Thrall, they're just going to call the server Asmongold. I think that sounds fucking great. And this actually happened in my guild, and my other officers in the guild got so annoyed by people acting like guild chat was Twitch chat, they just started G-kicking people. Like, if you put a Twitch chat emote in guild chat, they just fucking G-kicked you. Because they were just so sick of people that were like viewers of my stream joining the guild. It was kind of funny, and I didn't like most of the people that they G-kicked anyway, so I was like, yeah, you know, that's the way it goes, fuck.
If you want to have a real, authentic vanilla experience, then avoid those servers. Otherwise, your server chat is just going to turn into a bunch of garbage about, oh my god, he just got this, oh my god, he just did that. It's just, it sucks. If that's not what you're into, avoid that. PvP leaks. So what does that mean exactly? It means battlegrounds for one. So if you do a battleground, you're leaking the map, you're leaking the strategies, you're leaking players where they are, you're leaking when like a flag in Warsaw Worlds gets picked up, things like that. It could also mean world bosses. You want to go do Azure Ghosts, and you want to keep that a secret to the other factions so that you don't have to fight for 5 hours over the boss, then you don't want to have that stream. Because as soon as the other faction knows now Azure Ghosts is up, they're going to be swarming you. And that's something you need to keep seeking from the opposite faction. And even from other players in
Boys, yo, like imagine this shit. Azure Ghost spawns. I'm streaming on a PvP server. There'll be like 2,000 people there. Think about how fucking badass that would be. Like, I honestly, dude, I get a half chub just thinking about it. 100%. Like, server crash? Oh, yeah. It's not. I mean, but besides that, it'd be really, really fucking cool. Like, just to see everybody there would be fucking amazing. You won't be on a PvP server, though? I've decided I will try to play on a PvP server when the beta or the alpha comes out. And if it seems plausible and feasible, I will do it on live, but I still am convinced that it will not be possible. And I really don't think that it will be. I don't think it'll be possible for a lot of other streamers either. And I look forward to myself being proven right, because I think it's going to be fucking hilarious.
your own faction. Right-click reporting. This could happen by total accident. Sometimes you're just a player out in the world questing PvP. You see this guy, you kill him, and he was a streamer. You didn't even know it. That guy's gonna go, that guy's obviously stream sniping me. And then he's gonna tell the stream, right-click report the guy. Even though you didn't even know what you're doing. You're just PvP.
I know you can't report stream sniping in WoW, but they will report anyways because they're upset, even making up fake reasons sometimes. Oh, I do that! So like if somebody annoys me in WoW, I'll talk to them until they say something that's like profanity to me, then I'll report them. So I'll bait them into doing something bad, or I'll look at their name and I'll figure out something wrong with their name, and I'll report them. 100%, dude. If someone wants to fuck me, dude, I'll fuck them right back. It's a two-way street.
Killing guy, it happens sometimes. Streamers sometimes lose their temper. They're humans. Harassment.
Yo, that shit hurts. Like, I'm gonna say that right now. Like, that shit actually fucking hurt. I'm kind of, it's a little embarrassing.
I just wanted to mention this one because it's something that the streamer is not going to encourage. It's going to be done just by his crazy fans. Because, let's face it, there's a lot of psychos out there in this world. And sometimes you're just doing something, minding your own business, you accidentally did something wrong to the guy. You didn't even know it. He mentioned it on stream. He said, oh, Daniel did this to me. And then so all of his crazy people are going to message you on the server. They're going to give you threats. They're going to give you insults. They're going to...
So this it's so funny because like every example he has, I've actually got like a real life example of this shit actually happening. So back in Nighthold, there was this one guy, his name was Malu, and he kept dying on botnets because he was shitty, right? And he became such a meme in my guild. People were messaging him from like other servers who were watching my stream, us wiping Nighthold. Like you guys probably didn't watch me back then, but I literally had like 2,000 to 3,000 viewers sitting there wiping in Nighthold, and we would wipe on botnets. Like, where's the bot in this clip? Where I'm sitting there and we wipe again, and I'm listening to Green Day. It's just the most depressing fucking thing ever. And anyway, so they messaged this guy and they told him like kill himself, and they harassed this person so much that he quit the guild. Like this guy got harassed out of my guild because he kept dying on stream so many times. I mean, it's horrible, but it's also like it's funny in a mean kind of way, right? Like obviously it's kind of shitty that happened because then we had to recruit somebody else and it was fucking annoying. But looking back on it, it is kind of funny. I remember those streams so well. Yeah, a lot of people do. I hated those streams. That was like the worst part of my fucking life. Like streaming, like it was just so bad, man.
Follow you around, they might
read my reset message. Cliff, I'm gonna read your reset message right now. Where is it? I don't see it. Yeah, I actually don't see your I actually don't see your reset message. I'm scrolling down. Yeah, I don't know. I see quote me when it's cringe. Gifted a sub to quote if streamer balding. Jesus Christ. Like I'm gonna put that on Twitter, dude. Like I'm actually gonna put that on Twitter right now. Just a minute. Okay, wait, can I, why is it not, why did it not let me screenshot? Just screenshot. Print screen. Okay, and then this should work, right? Oh, I'm in this, that's why. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna put that on Twitter afterwards. Okay, let's yeah, quote if Asmon mad. Oh yeah, that's, I'm surprised he doesn't get quoted more often.
GameCube, it's just another headache, and I don't think it's worth dealing with. And it's not even caused by the streamer, it's caused by their fans. Leveling up on one of these servers with one of these guys is gonna be rough. If they're in that same zone as you, there's gonna be a swarm of Locust players going all over that zone, picking up all the quest mobs, picking up all the quest items, killing everything. There's gonna be nothing in that zone for you. You're gonna have to move out of the zone. So it's one of those things that are just adding a little bit of an extra headache. Not only that, if it's a PvP server, God forbid anyone chooses that, there's gonna be gankers all day long. It's gonna be impossible. Alright, now my last point is going to be that you're hurting these streamers just as much as you hurt yourself. These guys don't want to deal with it either. They're gonna have to deal with these problems 10 times worse than you. So just don't hurt them.
Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you, like, streaming a video game is fucking hard. Oh my god, dude. Like, basically, I mean, you have to worry. Here's some of the issues, right? It's like, one issue is that whenever you're streaming the game, you gotta focus on playing the game, but then sometimes people give you money. And so then that distracts you from the game, you gotta read their fucking message. And so that's one of the worst parts about it. Also, on top of that, you have people following you around all the time, and you're just getting distracted constantly by all of these other people that want your attention, and they just keep giving you money, and it just makes it so hard to actually just relax and just play a game. I mean, listen, dude, that's just the way it goes. And I mean, it's hard to do this. Actually, no, I need the bathroom. Shit, I almost dropped my thing. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a piss. Alright, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that, boys.
If your goal in Classic is to play the game, just enjoy it yourself. These guys want to have their own Classic experience, and it's going to be impossible for them if they have all these people following them. So just do your own thing, watch them on stream, don't make the game about them, make it about your experience. I just wanted to end off the video by saying I also like watching streamers. Streamers are great for content, but this is more like a public service announcement saying, hey guys, these are things you should think about before you just swarm to them. A lot of people might not consider that you're also affecting them. They also want to have fun in the game. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you liked it, let me know.
I mean, that's really what we're not seeing. And it's really kind of sad. I want to look right now because I know what this is going to be. Okay, dude. What do you have against the Plague Lands? You could compare Asmongold to some other place really now. What do you have against the Plague Lands? Wait, what the fuck? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna tell people what server I play on until I just play on it on like that day. Let's see, just remember how cancerous the Project 60 with streamers was? Do y'all remember that? I was actually so happy whenever I got to do that because I made so many people mad. Like I'm like a happiness vampire. If I can make somebody else mad, that makes me happy. There's all these threads on like the general forums about how streamers are ruining Moonguard, and I made a thread, or no, I didn't make a thread, but I responded and I said, we run Moonguard now. Blizzard deleted the comment because it got so many people mad. They just deleted it. They didn't want to deal with me. They were like, okay, just we don't want to see that. Get it out of the way. And they were so fucking upset about it. Man, these people, like, what is it about me? Like, what is my community? Why is my community just assumed to be like the worst people? Depends entirely on the streamer. If someone like Swifty or Preach, then they're more responsible with how they play and their fans aren't bad. Avoid Asmongold's server like the plague, though. the last thing I want to do is be on the same server as Asmongold. Oh my god, this is insane. Let's see, are there any more? I'm just gonna search the clip of Asmon after. Okay, dude. Asmon. All right. Where are the other ones? What the hell is it not working? Okay, avoid Asmongold server. Okay, that's basically all of them. All the people talking shit. I don't know. I just think that's kind of funny. We didn't do anything. Dude, your audience is real? So yeah, no, we got the real boys. Like, the thing is with my audience is that, like, yeah, we got some clowns. I mean, of course we got clowns. I mean, there's like thousands of people that watch. Like, yeah, we got a couple of retards. But for the most part, everybody is really chill. Like, everybody talks about, like, how we have, like, a toxic audience. Like, my community is probably one of the least toxic communities in WoW. Like, together, my community achieved the Moose is Loose multiple times, right? Like, we've probably been responsible for more, like, mounts and, like, in-game player rewards than almost any other stream on Twitch. And, like, that's quantitative. Like, we used to do these runs all the fucking time. We used to do this all the time. This is, like, the only community that's left in WoW. What are you guys question marking me for? That's true as fuck. I literally got done talking about how you like making people mad. Well, yeah, but I like making them happy sometimes too. I mean, it's not like I like making people mad more, but it's like I don't want to make people that like me mad. I want to make people that don't like me mad because they don't like me. Right? I don't want to make people that like me mad. That'd be crazy. Because yeah, it's not toxic at all. Like, I have probably one of the best communities on Twitch. Like, I mean, like, yeah, I would say so. Like, especially for how unmoderated it is, right? If you balance, like, the amount of, no, listen, if you balance the amount of like, non-moderation that I do, because I don't really do hardly any moderation. I leave it off of sub mode all the time, and most people usually behave. I think that's pretty damn good. Like, wait, what is this here? Idiot, you complain every time. Wait, what's this here? Every time you wipe to a fight. You're the embodiment of toxicity. Slow Twitch said that. Hey, man, you living up to your name.
I can't cast that yet.
Black Desert Online has recently released on Xbox One, and as I've covered this game a lot in the past, Perlibis decided to sponsor me to make a Journey to Level 50 video for the game and discuss the differences between the Xbox One version and the PC version, as well as give some first impressions. I know a lot of you enjoy these kind of leveling progression videos, so hopefully you'll enjoy watching this one too. I have a randomly generated Xbox account name, Snubwhistle7380. Currently there's 4 channels. Let's just go on Balanos 1. So at launch for the Xbox version of Black Desert, you've got the choice between 6 classes: the Warrior, the Ranger, the Sorceress, the Berserker, the Wizard, or the Witch. I, however, have already decided that I want to pick a Ranger because because I remember Rangers being really good at grinding with their pre-awaken, and I've never played the Ranger before, so it should be a fairly new experience for me. The Ranger by default does look very good. It seems as though the character customization still has a lot of the crazy sliders that you saw in the PC version of the game. What's this? Oh wow. We'll have some faint green and red paint on her face just to make her look a little bit unique. Okay, that's creepy. That's too happy. No. No. Let's go with the generic star tattoo, shall we? So this is the main thing I want to increase. Give her a bit of thickness. And I think I'm happy with that. Now, I've always had a bit of tinfoil that Horoscope in Black Desert actually gives you hidden RNG. It's probably not true, but that's my tinfoil. Let's jump into it and begin the adventure. And we've got a new intro cutscene from what I remember from the PC version. We wake up in Western Guard camp now. It's gonna take a little bit of getting used to playing this on a controller. You can sprint by pressing LT, which feels quite good. For any of you that are new players out there, you're gonna see a lot of question marks on the map. These are NPCs that you haven't spoke to yet, and talking to them gives you knowledge, which is a useful resource that you will need later. So just talk to every single NPC that you come across. Main attack, RB. Okay, that feels comfortable. Game's teaching me some abilities right now. Charging wind. Nice spin kick. Got my first kill quest. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, but the ranger feels fairly solid so far. I got myself a free tier 5 horse and a set of horse armor for pre-ordering the game. Very nice. That's going to help me out a lot. Got to kill ourselves some wolves now. Poor little wolves. What have they done wrong? Not much. Let's do my X ability. And this charges up something called, I think it's Razor Wind? Big damage. Briar armor. Fantastic. We'll take what we can get right now. It's going to give us 5 DP. Every little helps. We're now heading into the Ancient Stone Chamber. On the PC version of the game, I had tinfoil that this was a lucky place to enhance gear. So I would always come here to do gear enhancers. It worked for a while, and then I failed everything, so I guess it wasn't so lucky after all. Black Spirit's not a fan of these guys. And he's evolved into a happier Black Spirit. Got ourselves another speed buff. I'm soon getting to the point where what a lot of people would do is stop with the questing and just go out and grind or something. But honestly, as a new player, if you've never played BDO before, I wouldn't recommend you do that, because you're only new to an MMO for a little bit of time, and it's a lot more fun just doing the quests, slowly learning the game, exploring, and just having that new player experience. You only really get to experience that once. We have discovered Imp Cave. We're going to talk to Tiny Nose. My first ever class in BDO was a Sork, and I found that to be quite fun, pre-awakened. But the mobility of the ranger is really cool, and I like the resource system. I like doing this combo. You also get a lot of inventory expansion from questing as well, so that's another reason why it's well worth it. Summoning this big boy. You're undecided on a class to play for Black Desert Xbox launch. I highly recommend the ranger. It's got one of the most fun pre-awakens I've experienced so far. And we've just arrived at Velia, a good place to have your main home in this game. The thing I like about Xbox is getting Xbox achievements. I don't really care about achievements on PC or anything, but I remember when I had the Xbox 360, I was a bit of an achievement whore and I really like to collect those things. So this is something new that Black Desert recently added to the game, both on the PC version and it comes with the Xbox version. It's called the Central Market. It's a way better marketplace system than what they had before. I hated the old Black Desert Market because I used to have to spend hours standing in front of it sniping materials and resources. But now, with the Central Market, you don't really have to do that anymore. You can essentially place buy orders and place sell orders, and you can list a lot more on the market at once. So, fantastic update to the game that was. You know, questing could actually be a decent form of money making early on in this game. Like when you do the quests that give you a gold bar and take next to no time. Like that one, get the girl's cat. Let's see if we can get a green worker. That'll do nicely. So we're going to buy the goblin worker. This lady looks like she's tripping balls right now. So I hired a worker earlier that lives in Velia. I want to put him to work on Bartelli Farm. This farm produces potatoes, which I need to produce beer, which will keep my workers working. So I'm going to go over here, go to node management, invest contribution. It costs 2 contribution points out of the 8 that I've got. Then I'm going to click potato farming at the bottom. And then I simply put manage work. Click on the worker. Start work. And he's starting his potato farming. That's level 15 and we get evasive shot 2 unlocked. Very nice. 2 upgrades. Rebluff armor. Nice. That's 8 DP. Some gloves, 11 DP, binder necklace. This gives me 8 accuracy. Can you sit against the rock? You can. Nice. A violent elite goblin soldier. Maybe he gives me something good. Big damage. Oh, that's level 16 and now I can see day and night time. Nice. We got a Proginal silver bar for killing that guy. Nice. This is one of the cooler looking bosses in the game, I think. I really like his mask. GG Gaiaf. Oh, this is cool. I've never been in here before. There's a little cave area underneath Kron Castle. I never knew that. There's lots of little hidden caves in this game throughout the world. Interesting. I remember this used to be like a level 50 grind spot at one point. I guess it's been reworked. On here, we escaped the castle. Oh wow, that's a nice view. I've never heard music like this before in Black Desert. It's very intense. Another speed buff. Gotta run fast, everybody loves to run fast. Oh, you get horses now instead of donkeys. Beginner brown horse, Sparky. 2,752 silver. See you later, Sparky. You had a good run. Come on, horse, we're going to Hideout. This horse is certainly a far cry from a Pegasus on the PC version of the game. And finally, we arrive at Hideout. There's a crap ton of people I can talk to in Hideout to get knowledge of, but I can't really be bothered right now. I'll do that at a later point. Pro tip to any of you new guys starting out on the Xbox version of the game, you can come to this person in Hideout, Ornelia, the arms dealer, and you can buy an amazing starting weapon for 250,000, the Ornelia longbow, axe, staff, amulet, or longsword. It costs 250,000, which if you do your intro quests, you should have enough for, and it has 30 to 34 AP and 168 accuracy, which is really huge in starting out. So with my new weapon, I'm now 1 or 2 shotting the imps, so it was definitely worth it. Can really feel the additional accuracy. Grinding is going very fast now, that's level 20. It's nice starting out all over again, back in simpler times before Awakenings, when there's only like 3 zones, everyone's poor, no one's got good gear. And just having to build up everything from scratch all over again, it's quite enjoyable. Oh, I've bloody climbed the thing without needing to climb the thing. It's gone from a cute little black Pokemon, and he awakens to be a creepier black Pokemon. He's also got 6 nipples now. I've always found Beg to be one of the harder bosses to do because he flings his whip around and it tends to CC you quite a bit. But I'm probably going to kill him fairly quickly thanks to my new weapon. Oh, never mind, I'm on my ass. Another pro tip for you new players, if you look at the mini-map, quest objective mobs are the orange ones. So you can always get a good idea of where they're grouped up just by glancing at your mini-map. So far I've been really impressed by how intuitive the controls are for the Xbox One version of this game. Coming into this I was quite skeptical because Black Desert is quite a complex MMO compared to a lot of other MMOs. I don't really play a lot of console games myself, so I was worried that I wouldn't be able to pick it up very quickly and that it would feel awkward to control. But it hasn't really felt that way so far, which I'm happy about. I'm actually able to enjoy the game. We got ourselves a Bastille Dagger, that is 5 AP, that's an upgrade, lots of accuracy as well. Now I've just got to slaughter these camps of soldiers. Now we're going to fight Al Rundy, the guy with the spiked helmet. He's one tall ass guy, isn't he? Al Rundy. I bet he's Dutch. Oh no, I'm gonna die! I haven't got the right potions bound to my hotbar. Oh no! I died to a bloody quest boss! Oh, beaten Al Rundy and now he's surrendered. What's this? Eagle's Talon. We've got ourselves a new necklace. What does it give me? 4 AP. Bloody hell, here we go. We're off to Glish now. Provoke the Fogan. Really? We're just luring this Fogan all the way into prison? He's not that stupid, surely. Apparently he is that stupid. Put the Fogan in the prison. Wow. Oh, nice. We found the Fogan Elite. He's going to give me some big money. Spread out AoE. Whenever you see a violent mob, always kill them. There we go. More silver bars. Oh, there's another violent mob. Wow. This seems like a good place to make some money. Oh, that's level 26 as well. Blackstone weapon. Nice. That's what I like about the start of BDO. It feels like every semi-decent drop, every resource that you get, it just feels so much more impactful. Sophisticated, iconic woman. Oh god, we just got licked. We just got bloody crushed now. There we go, we got him. Really start upgrading my skills. I've got 100 skill points and haven't spent any yet. Oh god, the Black Spirit's upgraded again. This person got the family name Sword Art Online and his character's called Kirito. Right now, I'm not really doing any of the side quests. I'm only really following the main quest line because that's what gives you the best stuff. It's level 30. Very easy. I think like every mob's given me 1 or 2%. Oh, we got an achievement as well, the Veteran. I wouldn't say level 30 in Black Desert is being a veteran, but okay, Xbox, you can call it that if you like. So I need to climb down in this well and learn about this hidden chamber. We're getting lots of Blackstone weapons drop now. Got another boss summon scroll. We're going to summon the bandit leader. Let's see if this boss has any challenge. This guy was very easy to kite. I don't think I've taken any damage from fighting him. Another Blackstone from the quest. Another Blackstone from the quest. Nice. That's level 33. So the quest is to move these boxes from here to about 10 meters away. Why can't the guy just walk over here and get the supplies himself? This is a nice view, isn't it? Oh, that's level 34 now. I've actually been getting a fair amount of combat XP from doing these quests. Oh no, 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 no! Okay, we got lucky. It's actually faster if I use the auto pathing to reach my destination and just hold down sprint. That seems to be way more efficient. Oh, I'm almost dead. What's hurting me? I need to pay attention to my health a little bit more. I'm chugging health potions fighting these harpies. Quest complete. I'm almost dead. And that's level 35. And the game's put me 60% into it. So you really do get a lot of XP for questing in this game now. Or just doing the main quest anyway. Oh, what's this? A guild wants to employ me. I'll join a guild, why not? I joined a guild called Elysium. Must be a brilliant guild if it's just inviting any random person in. I really like how much XP you get from the new 1 to 50 leveling experience in this game. It's nice to have the choice as well now, which seems to be activated when I press both triggers. I've always enjoyed this area of the game, like the northern wheat plantation area. It just looks so wholesome, lots of farms. To 50 AP. So it has 100 less accuracy than my current bow. However, it has a bit more AP. I can't really tell which weapon's more effective, to be honest. When you get used to your abilities on Ranger, it really is probably the most fun pre-awakened class in the game. Really glad I decided to pick this class. So for this quest, I've got to kill 100 giants. I don't think it's going to take too long though. I've been using a new ability a lot now. It's called Will of the Wind. It's LTLB. And it CCs them and deals very nice damage in an AoE cone. I need to remember to buy potions. I've been playing for so long just with no potions. And I knew it was going to come and bite me in the ass because I'm almost dead. Am I going to die first or is the boss going to die first? That's the question. 90 HP. Oh, I'm panicking. I bloody died. When will I remember to buy potions? That's what happens when I have potions, noob. I just got myself a Kaya necklace. What does this give me? 7 AP. Wow, that's a big upgrade. These Talk to Me quests have almost taken me all the way from level 47 to 48. This should just be a permanent thing throughout all of Black Desert, even side quests. Just every quest gives you a little bit of combat XP. It's really enjoyable. It really enhances that sense of progression you get when playing the game. I've got to go all the way to Port Etheria now. A bit of a long run this one. Can't really remember any long quest chains at Port Etheria, but looks like we're going to go to the catfish camp now. I don't know what it is, but I just enjoyed the vanilla leveling experience in this game. There's just so much to do, and you get a crazy sense of progression from just everything you do. Quests give you contribution points, they give you good gear, you're gaining AP and upgrades all the time. Quests even give you XP now towards combat, which is fantastic. Running everywhere increases your breath. Eating food's increasing your health all the time. You're constantly getting upgrades, you're discovering new areas of the map, you're talking to NPCs, gaining energy, gaining contribution points. There's just so much to manage and work on at the start of the game, which is why it's like really fun. Eventually progression slows down quite a bit when you get to like level 56, level 60, and you're trying to get upgrades and you're working your way towards soft cap, which is why I think I'm really enjoying this in comparison to the PC version of the game. Oh, what's this? Laurie's Lost Shoes. Hopefully it's an upgrade. My character cheered when she got it. Treant Spirit's Whisper Earring. Oh my god, we're just getting upgrades for days from the catfish. We're gonna have some nice gear by the time we're finished here. 5 AP, that's insanely good. And we get S rank on the catfish, man. This should be the final boss on my way to level 50, unless they've changed something. We'll kill him with the ulti. Big damage. And there it is. That's the end of the last boss, I think. We got another quest. Oh, that's level 49. That's given me a lot of XP into 49 as well. And now I'm getting my daily quests come in. I have no inventory space left. It's not going well. Let's go. Give me that duo Berez on 0 fail stacks.
Nope.
F. Treant Spirit's Echo Ring. Okay, Laurie's Lost Helmet. We're just raining loot right now. 5 AP. This helmet's 33 DP. That's a huge upgrade. Boom, that's level 50. Nice. Now we can finally flag on people for PvP. I'm getting very decent XP from killing mobs, even at level 50, so it doesn't seem to slow down that much. Let's kill this ranger. Oh, they're pretty geared. Oh, here we go. We got some PvP going on. Oh no, I'm doing like no damage to them. I'm getting my ass kicked. I'm gonna deflag. I'm gonna run. That was a little bit embarrassing, I'm not gonna lie. We either need to improve our gear or find someone with way worse gear than me. Alright, so apparently Calpheon has an underground dungeon. If it does, I've never been there before. Okay, it does, and I have never been here before. Interesting. So right now I have a total of 5.4 million, and that's without all of the stuff that I'm intending to sell. There we go, at least we got the plus 10. So we end up with plus 9 heave gloves, plus 9 heave boots, and we get some achievements for enhancing. Brilliant. And we get the depressed title. Fantastic. So right now I'm taking on an ogre in hopes of getting an ogre ring. Well, it's a bit of a long shot. It's a very rare item to get. A bit out of my depth at the moment. The ogre's been kicking my ass. Been attacking it for a solid 5 minutes or so, and no ogre ring, of course. Well, it was worth a try. There's a wizard here killing my manchas. I've got an ogre chasing me. Let's flag up and let's see if we can take on the wizard. Oh no, we cannot take on the wizard. Okay, we run. We run. The wizard is way stronger than me. Everyone I've attacked so far has been really strong. Okay, this person I'm actually dealing some damage to. I'm out damaging this person just about. Oh god. Well, I was. We all know that good. Well, I was.
The coronavirus outbreak has caused panic around the world. Cities are in lockdown, stock markets have tumbled, and the basics, including masks, even toilet paper, are running out. So, how should we deal with the anxiety? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Mariam Namazi. As the coronavirus spreads around the world, so is the fear and anxiety, despite scientists telling people not to panic. Many countries have suspended schools, public events, and imposed travel restrictions. South Korea has the second highest number of cases after China, where the outbreak began 2 months ago. It's suspending a visa-free program with Japan in response to Tokyo imposing quarantine measures on South Korean visitors. Other countries are denying entry altogether to visitors from high-risk regions or are putting them into quarantine. Well, this goes against guidelines from the World Health Organization, which says these measures are not always effective. Well, the global outbreak is hitting businesses hard as well. Chinese exports fell by 17.2% in the year to January. Factories are closed in the world's second largest economy, affecting global supply chains. Share markets from New York to Hong Kong fell by up to 3% this week. And an airline trading group says the industry could lose $113 billion this year.
I just want one pack. No, not one pack.
And the panic has caused a run on supermarkets in places like Australia. Police in Sydney were called in to stop shoppers fighting over toilet paper. Shelves have been stripped bare of canned foods, milk and hand sanitizer. People fear they'll run out of supplies if they're forced into quarantine. South Korea has now restricted the sale of masks to 2 packs a person a week.
It's difficult to go without a mask. Living without masks is no longer the norm. When I'm not wearing one, I feel worried.
This is the first time I queued for a mask. I've passed by here several times, but they didn't have any.
For us, it's not easy to make ends meet. We're on the verge of bankruptcy.
So let's bring in our panel then. Here in the studio we have Dr. Anthony Renshaw, Medical Director in Northern Europe for International SOS, a health and travel security risk services company. Philippe Legrand, a financial analyst and economist. And then also joining us on Skype from Hay-on-Wye in Wales in the UK, Burton Paul, a healthcare engagement specialist. Very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us on Inside Story. Anthony.
Said Ali, I was born in Saratov. And to this live stream, we have like several suggestions about what it is, and I can say that it is not related with the economy of Russia or with coronavirus. It's exactly about my channel. Just like a worst day for exactly for my channel, you know, for Real Russia channel. And actually maybe it will not look that bad, you know, actually, but to me it's a worst day. Why? So here it is. Yesterday I released the video from Samara, Russia, which is called 78th anniversary of Dmitry Shostakovich's 7th Leningradsky Symphony premiere at the 5th of March. Putin, $20. Thanks. Okay. Okay. At the 5th of March, 1942, in Kuybyshev, it's Samara. And look, I personally think that this is one of the best videos ever that I ever made. Why? Because look, this is, in my opinion, a very well balanced video. For example, look, no, let me tell you this. And the problem, I think that this is the best video ever. And but it is appeared to be the worst video in its first 24 hours, and this is the most important hours for the last at least 2 years. That's what YouTube analytics told me. So that's mean that this video is worse by its results, by its activity than my shittiest video for the last 2 years. Okay, and that's why I think this is like a worst day, because the gap between what I think is the real Russia and what most of the viewers expect to see as real Russia is the biggest ever. You know, the gap is unbelievable. Why I think that this video, the latest video that I released yesterday, is one of the best. First of all, this is very well balanced. It's not one of central cities like St. Petersburg or Moscow. Like often many people tells me like, oh, you film Moscow, St. Petersburg, this is not the real Russia. At the same time, it's not a hellhole. It's not some kind of, you know, like half-abandoned villages somewhere in the provincial parts of Russia. It's like one of those like real Russian cities, even historically, because Samara founded like 500 years ago on the embankments of Volga River. That's how most of old Russian cities were founded, as a fortresses on the embankments of the rivers, because that was easier, like to move the stuff by the river, because back in those days there wasn't the railroads, wasn't cars, the horses, there were the horses, but it's not a